Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
That was good enough the first time. I appreciate that this morning. Sure appreciate everyone being here to the Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting for December the 2nd. It is a big day for us and a big day for three of our commissioners particularly. But it is customary for us, Board of Commissioners, to begin each one of our meetings with a prayer. And during this prayer, you're welcome to stand and join the commissioner during the invocation in the prayer. You're welcome to use it for your own prayer, or you are welcome to use it for a moment of silence, whatever your heart leads you to do this morning. And after the prayer, we'll have a Commissioner Wayne Outlaw to do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And I would ask everyone to stand and join us in that as well. So at this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner Arrington to lead us in the invocation. Commissioner Arrington.
Good morning, everyone. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we come today to thank you for the good Thanksgiving you have given our citizens for the past year. We pray that you will continue to bless us and continue to bless our leadership, that we might do the best thing for our citizens here in Nash County. We pray that all our families are well. We pray for those who are sick and those who don't have housing. We pray that we will continue to work to make our society good and a county safe where we all can live and raise our family. We ask that you continue to bless us in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Would you join us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioners. I do notice quite a few elected officials and special guests with us this morning, and I'm going to welcome those individually if I could. And that's a dangerous thing to do in a room full of people, knowing you're going to miss someone, but I will certainly call on anyone else to stand up at that time. Nash County and the Board of Commissioners is very pleased to have Chief Justice Paul Newby with us this morning, and his wife. I always want to mention the wives because as most of us up here know, that's who drives up anyway. And welcome to Nash County. Glad you're here, sir. It's an honor to have you here. Sitting beside him is our Superior Court Judge, Tim Wilson, who has been in the seat just a little while and apparently doing a great job. We don't have anything to do with the judicial system, but we seem to hear a lot as a commissioner about everything that's not going well. So, and heard nothing, sir. And I appreciate the job that you do. Our elected officials that I have seen in the audience: Owen Strickland, the mayor of Bailey, Mr. Strickland; Lou Harvey, the mayor of Middlesex. We have a school board member, Franklin Lamb, that I saw come in. There you are, Franklin. And do I have any other elected officials with us this morning?
James Austin.
James Austin, thank you, sir. I missed you coming in, the mayor of Castalia. And I hope I said that right. All right, thank you, sir. Been here a long time. Any other special people in the audience, please raise your hand and we welcome you here as well. Nobody thinks they're special. I'm sorry to see that. But again, we certainly thank you, Judge Newby, for being here this morning, and it's an honor to have you here. I'm now on item number 4, which is approval of the minutes for the November the 4th meeting of the Board of Commissioners, the only one we had in November. And at this time, I would entertain the motion to approve, make additions or corrections to those minutes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I offer a motion to approve the minutes of our previous meeting.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Belfield, Commissioner Belfield. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilkins. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, as we stated, we have administration of oath of commissioners. Commissioner Arrington, who was reelected, Commissioner Leggett, who was reelected, and our new commissioner, Freddie Howell. And at this time, I think I would just turn it over to Chief Judge Paul Newby to make some remarks, sir. And one more time, I'm going to thank you for being here. We're proud to see you, sir.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas. It just seems like they all are merging together here. It's such a delight for me to be with you. My wife Megan, my much better half, who is from Wilson, so just down the road a little bit. So she's our claim in Eastern North Carolina. I also see one of my colleagues, Judge Quentin Sumner back there. Judge Sumner, it's always good to see you. Thanks for your years and years of service. When you're ready to stop retiring, you let me know. Why are we gathered this morning? You know, we're here because of the importance of self-government. Let me say a thank you to the county commissioners. Y'all have a beautiful courthouse facility here. That would not happen but for the support of your county commissioners. It's an interesting partnership. The General Assembly funds the salaries of the judicial branch, but across our state, it's the counties that actually do the funding for the courthouses and things that occur there. So thank you for investing in it. Our state constitution says that our courthouses are there to administer justice without favor, without denial, without delay. It truly is a bedrock of our free society, and we certainly thank the commissioners. We're here this morning to administer oaths. They've been doing oaths since 1776. I was a small child. It's like, wow. And actually, we got that from our English system. And of course, it goes all the way back to Bible times. It's an opportunity for somebody who's fixing to enter service, public service, to publicly let everybody know that they're going to set aside personal goals and they're going to do what's right and just and fair for all the people. It's before all the people and yes, before Almighty God. I love Commissioner Arrington's prayer because he referenced what's really in the preamble of our state constitution. Our state constitution, which was redrafted in 1868 by freed African Americans and other folks, it starts off this way. It says, "We the people of the state of North Carolina are grateful to Almighty God, the sovereign ruler of nations, for the preservation of the American Union and the existence of our civil, political, and religious liberties, and acknowledging our dependence upon God for the continuation of those blessings to us and to our posterity." That's so important because Article 1, Section 1 has those familiar words from the Declaration of Independence. It says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal and endowed by our Creator, endowed by God with certain inalienable rights. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness." Well, we're from North Carolina. We can improve on even what the Declaration said. And we added to that, everybody's entitled to the fruits of their own labor, recognizing the dignity of all work, but also recognizing, I believe, that God gives each of us specific gifts and talents that we're to use for the betterment of everyone else. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, Martin Luther King famously said, was a promissory note on the Bank of America that every person would have those liberties, those rights guaranteed. And that's in part what our county commissioners do. They try to balance so many competing interests as they try to ensure that all the citizens of their county have opportunities for life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, to pursue the fruits of their own labor. It's a challenging task. On my Supreme Court, we'll hear an argument in a case and maybe 3 months later issue an opinion. By then, a lot of folks have forgotten that we even heard the case. The county commissioners, they make a decision, and before they get in their car, their cell phone's ringing, with folks going, I can't believe you just did that. It's always interesting to me when I'm out with my law clerks and somebody comes up and they tell me, oh, you did a great job writing an opinion, and, they are kind of feeling good about themselves because they helped with that. I said, hey, just beware that for every one person who says that's really good, there's somebody else that says, that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So, we always we all have opinions about stuff, right? And yet, these folks are willing to put aside personal self-interest to do what is, in their view, before God, what is the best for this county. So, as we take these oaths, or as we administer these oaths, it's good for us to think back to these fundamental ideas. Our state constitution says a frequent recurrence of fundamental principles is absolutely necessary to preserve the blessings of liberty. That's what we're doing this morning. It's, again, so great to be with you. I'm now going to call on Judge Wilson to come up and administer the oath to Commissioner Arrington.
And Commissioner Arrington, if you would step down, sir. While he does that, I too would like to thank Chief Justice Newby for coming today. It is always an honor to have you in Nash County and Macon as well. He is a fantastic leader of our court system. Do you have someone who will hold the Bible, sir? All right, if you would come right up. Okay. Left hand on the Bible, raise your right, sir. Do you, Marvin C. Arrington, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, so help you God?
Yes, so help me God.
Do you solemnly and sincerely swear that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God?
So help me God.
Do you swear that you will well and truly execute the duties of the office of Commissioner of Nash County according to the best of your skill and ability and according to law, so help you God?
So help me God.
Commissioner Arrington, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Leggett, if you at this time, I believe you may have somebody who's willing to hold your Bible here. Boys, y'all want to come over here on this side? Is that good? This is called a Kodak moment. Left hand. I will pause 3 times. When I do, you say, I do, or I do, so help me God. Okay. You, Sue Leggett, solemnly swear that you'll support the Constitution of the United States, so help you God.
I do, so help me God.
And do you solemnly and sincerely swear that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you'll endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God?
I do, so help me God.
And do you swear that you will well and truly execute the duties of your office, as Commissioner of Nash County, according to the best of your skill and ability, according to law, so help you God.
I do, so help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you for your willingness to serve. This time I'm going to call Commissioner-elect Freddie Howe. As they're coming forward, I will note that his wife Keisha is the one who keeps the checkbook at AOC, the Administrative Office of the Court. Just so y'all know, she oversees a budget a whole lot bigger than any of ours. Okay? So we appreciate your service.
There's a lot.
Yeah, that's good. Left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. 3 times, I'll get to it, so help me God. I do. Do you, Freddie Howe, solemnly swear that you'll support the Constitution of the United States, so help you God?
So help me God.
Do you solemnly and sincerely swear that you'll be faithful and bear a true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you'll endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God?
So help me God.
And do you swear that you will well and truly execute the duties of your office as Commissioner of Nash County, according to the best of your skill and ability, according to law, so help you God?
So help me God.
Congratulations. Welcome. Thank you.
Don't go yet.
You may want a picture. Can't go wrong.
No, you can't.
Stacy. You should take his seat. Freddie.
Commissioner Howe, please take your seat.
Hopefully that changes his mind.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of Judge Wilson and myself, we thank you for you and your fellow commissioners for all that you do. But we got our day jobs. Thank you all.
Thank you.
We fully understand and thank you both for being here this morning. And I understand what a day job means.
Yes, sir.
You ready? Sure. Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to shout head up or not. All right, we're now on item number 6, and if everyone in the audience probably realizes this, but the month of December each year, we elect new chair and vice chair for the Board of Commissioners, and we do this every year, and it is time now to do that, and what the order will be is we will elect a new chair first, and then we'll turn it over to the chair, and then we will elect a vice chair. So it's my job to turn the meeting over, and we generally always use our attorney to do that part of it. And so at this time, I'd like to call on our attorney, Mike Gaynor, and appoint him as the temporary chair to conduct the election of a new chair. Mr. Gaynor?
Yes, sir, thank you. At this time, I will open the floor up for nominations for the position of chairperson for the board of the Nash County Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Gaynor, I'd like to nominate vice chair, current vice chair, who has been vice chair quite a while, Wayne Outlaw, to be our next chair.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Marvin Arrington to be our next chair.
okay. Are there further nominations? Seeing there are no further nominations, at this time, the nominations are closed, and I will accept votes. The way I'll do this is I'll just go in alphabetical order, and if you would raise your hand as I call the name of the two nominees for the position of chair. So beginning with Marvin Arrington, if you would raise your hand if you would like to vote for Marvin Arrington.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you. Could you give us an opportunity to speak?
Yes, sir, Mr. Arrington, you may speak if you would like to.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let me first thank the Honorable Fred Belfield for the nomination. I also want to acknowledge and thank the voters in my district for their support and allowing me to serve as their county commissioner. Now I want to speak to my fellow board members this morning. I am seeking your support to be your chairperson. When Commissioner Davis said at our last meeting that he might be stepping down and probably would not serve an additional year as chair. So that opened up an opportunity for me to seek serving as our board chair. Well, why not me? I've served alongside Commissioner Davis on at least 3 board committees, and we have always tried to work as a team. Over the past month, through much contemplation by me and from some support of others here in Nash County, I am here to hopefully gain your support and vote to be our board chair. I know how difficult it is to choose one of your peers to be your leader when we all have been sitting on the same side of the table, especially after Commissioner Davis's long tenure as our leader. I know for some of you, you just cannot picture me filling Commissioner Davis's shoes. Well, unfortunately, I will not be able to fill his shoes. But I will do my best to fill my own shoes. I promise to always be professional and represent Nash County with a positive attitude. For the past 4 years, I've tried to be a team player. I've never tried to upstage Commissioner Davis's position as chair. We have not always agreed. When I first came on board, I realized I did not choose my teammates and that I was not the leader. So I have tried to stay in my lane. Showing that you can be a team player is also showing leadership. Now, I first want you to understand what my leadership style will look like. Since I am still working in our workforce here in Nash County at Cummins Rocky Mount Engine Plant, I am very familiar with some of today's business practices and leadership methods. Just like industry, As county commissioners, our goal is to deliver a product or service that our customers are satisfied with. To satisfy our citizens, I need all my board members' help and talent, working together as one team, seeking one goal, servicing our citizens. My goal as chair is to make all board members be your best. When each of you is at your best, we as a team will be our best. I want our board to be respected by our citizens, and I want to give our county manager the guidance and support she needs to deliver our best services to our citizens. Some might say, well, Commissioner Arrington, have you ever led before? Maybe yes. Well, I was voted my senior class president. I was also voted to lead my fraternity's alumni association here in Rocky Mount, Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. And many years ago, in the 1980s, when I lived in Halifax County, I served 8 years on the Halifax County Board of Education, becoming its first African-American chair. During my tenure there, we passed a countywide school bond referendum to build new schools in our county, and especially the Southeast Halifax High School. I have had leadership positions during my employment and always in the community that I live. I moved from Halifax County and married a Nash County girl, Carolyn Freer. And we made our home here in Nash County in 1995. We built a little house in the Drakes community. We later learned that the citizens in Drakes had formed a community group to improve conditions in Drakes. They had water issues, traffic at an intersection, there was no traffic lights, and people were getting hurt. Out of this organization, there was a desire to have a community building. I joined the community group, and in about 10 years being there, they elected me as their chair. We got to work on getting that community center built. Alongside my predecessor, Commissioner Lou Richardson, with the county's help, we built Drake's Community Center under my leadership. Today, as we are a nonprofit organization, we have developed a model for our own revenue, a revenue-generating nonprofit business, a model that I helped create and lead with my partners in my community. Now, speaking of leadership, give me a moment to give you a vision of what my leadership will look like. I want to first say, I will not be a micromanaging chair. I will be a listener who will lead and speak when I think I have something valuable to say. I will not be a dictator. Our path as a board will be drawn when we reach a common consensus. I am not a grandstander. I do not seek the spotlight. Now let me talk about how I will lead. Now, why would some say Marvin Arrington cannot lead Nash County? Is it because he's not an imposing figure? Is it because he doesn't lead a Fortune 500 business? Is it because, well, he has a ponytail? Is it too complex for Marvin to comprehend? Is he just a nobody? And he has no leadership skills? Well, don't let those doubters, put that in your head. My leadership will consist of giving all my board members the opportunity to lead and lead committees. I will not hog the ball of leadership. I will pass the ball of leadership to my team members. I will let them be commissioners. And let me give you some examples. For example, whoever is elected as vice chair, they will have an active role to play and actually chair some meetings and be active with setting our agenda alongside me and our county manager. I do not intend to chair all board meetings as my predecessor has. Let me give you an example. Commissioner Leggett, you have an interest in agricultural land preservation. I will use your talent to chair that committee. I mean to set the agenda alongside with me and the county manager. We will lead, and you will lead that committee. Commissioner Davis, we have had experience with you, and we served on a committee with capital improvement. I know you have an interest in capital improvement, and I would want you to serve as chair of that committee. Commissioner Outlaw, I know you have an interest in recreational and park development. I would want you to chair that committee. Commissioner Belfield, I know you have an interest in affordable housing. I would want you to chair that committee. Commissioner Howell has an interest in emergency services and fire rescue. I would want him to chair that committee. Commissioner Wilkins has an interest in economic development. I would ask her to chair that committee. Just remember, those are not committee assignments. We might have other thoughts, and I will be open. As we go through our committee assignments, we will work on solutions and future plans so our entire board can review and act on our committee recommendations. When we work as a team, utilizing each other's talent and experiences, we will come up with services that best meet our citizens' needs at a reasonable cost that is within our tax base. When you elect me as your chair, do not be afraid that all hell is going to break loose and our county will fail. Do not believe that I will let that happen. I am a driven person. I am driven by goals, and that is what I intend for this board to do, is be driven. I thank you, and I would welcome your vote and support.
Thank you, Commissioner Arrington. Commissioner Outlaw, would you like to make any comments?
No.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I will again go in alphabetical order. If you would like to vote for Commissioner Arrington for chair, please raise your hand. Okay, that's 3 votes. If you would like to vote for Commissioner Outlaw for chair, please raise your hand. That's 4 votes. Commissioner Outlaw, congratulations.
Thank you.
I will turn it back over to you now.
Give me a moment to relocate.
Would you leave me down there a pad? I'm gonna go get my water. I left it there. What I wish to do is hand you this, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Appreciate you very much. How many speakers do we have? One? Public comment? One?
That's still fine.
First, I want to congratulate Mr. Howell, Commissioner Howell, on his election. I want to also congratulate Commissioner Leggett, Commissioner Arrington on their reelection. I want to take just a moment to thank Chairman Davis for his many years of dedicated service to this county. He has proven himself as a strong, competent leader, and it's been my honor to serve as his vice chairman. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you my life story. If you want my bio, I can send it to you. I do make one commitment to this board and to the citizens of Nash County. I will do my very best to lead this board forward as Commissioner Davis has done. So I thank you for being here today, and I thank this board for your support and your confidence in me in leading this board. With that said, we're going to move to public comments.
Vice Chair.
Mr. Chair, we need to
Vice
elect
Chair.
a
Oh, I'm
vice.
sorry, you're correct. Well, I was going to say, be patient with me because I'm human, like most of us, and I make mistakes, so don't hesitate to correct me when I do something that is incorrect. So at this time, we'll open the floor for nominations for
Mr. Chair.
vice chair.
I'd like to
Mr.
nominate
Chair.
Sue Leggett.
Just a minute, Mr. Belfield.
I'd like to nominate Sue Leggett, please, for vice chair.
Commissioner Howell has nominated Sue Leggett for vice chair. Are there other nominations for vice chair?
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Marvin Arrington.
Are there other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, the nominations are closed. I'm going to, with the attorney's consent, I'm going to take this in the order that they were received. So the first I received was Sue Leggett. So all those in favor of Sue Leggett being vice chair of the Nash County Board of Commissioners, please raise your right hand. That's 4 votes. Is there any need to continue?
Just for the record.
Okay. All those in favor of Marvin Arrington for vice chair, please raise your right hand. 3 votes. Congratulations, Commissioner Leggett. You are elected vice chair. All right, we've got, I believe we've got 1 speaker this morning. Just briefly give you a few guidelines for public comments. A time for public comments is provided at each regularly scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting. Each person desiring to speak must have filled out the appropriate form at any time prior to the beginning of the meeting. This form is located in the hall outside the chamber. The form will identify speakers by name, address, and the topic on which they wish to speak. Each speaker will be allowed to speak for 3 to 5 minutes with notification of time at 4 minutes. County Attorney Mike Gaynor will be our timekeeper. If multiple individuals wish to speak on the same subject, you're requested to designate a speaker for the group. No individual may speak more than once at each meeting. Speakers are requested to address the board without reference to individual members and conforming to reasonable standards of courtesy. No dialogue between the speaker and the board should occur. The chair may request the county manager or designee to follow up on any matters presented or for information requested. Speakers must make presentations from the audience podium and shall not otherwise approach the commissioners or staff without consent by the chair. If you signed up to speak on a subject that is already on the agenda, for example, a rezoning matter, please hold your comments until this matter comes up. This morning, as I said, we have one individual that has signed up. At this time, I'd like to call Ms. Pam Adams to the podium for her comments. Ms. Adams, please just state your name at the podium, please.
Pam Adams. And I came to your March board meeting this year to talk about the extension of the water on Edwards Road in Castaic and the interest that was there. The letter did go promptly out to the residents on Edwards Road, but it only gave the residents 21 days to respond back, and that was during the Easter holiday. My husband and I both made a copy of that letter that was sent out by Nash County and highlighted on there that it was due by March the 29th, and on March the 26th, we went and put an individual letter in everybody's mailbox. I'm not sure what became of that particular letter that went back to Nash County as to how many were interested, but I know of 8 properties that would like for that water extension on Edwards Road to be extended down to Bolden Road. I was just, didn't want 2024 to end, and having been here in March, not knowing what would go on with the survey that was taken. Our well on Edwards Road is bad, and it was going to cost about $17,000 to get another one and to maintain it. So it cost a lot of money just to bring in water for coffee and things like that. So I was just hoping that since the line was less than a mile down the road, that maybe it was still in the budget, that it could be extended down to Bolden Road in Castaic. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Could the manager or the deputy manager follow up with Ms. Adams? Thank you very much. All right, now we're going to move to agenda item number 10, which is a public hearing on a general rezoning request. I call on the planning director, Adam Tyson, to present the request.
Good morning.
Aye.
The property that is the subject of this morning's rezoning request is pictured on the screen in front of you. The property is a 24.77 acre undeveloped tract of land currently owned by Edison Hardy Mizell and Genia Bass Mizell. As you can see in the map, it's located on the north side of Red Oak Brattleboro Road. It is adjacent to Interstate I-95, shown here on the map. It is also located just north of the town of Dorches in the county's planning and zoning jurisdiction. This particular piece of property is also immediately adjacent to the Dean's Quail Roost subdivision, shown here in the bottom southeast corner of the subject property. That subdivision was developed back in 1970. It includes 21 existing residential lots, as well as Quail Roost Road, shown here, which is a state-maintained secondary road. This parcel was subdivided using the survey that's on the screen to separate it from a narrow, approximately 5-acre lot to the west, which runs immediately adjacent to the right-of-way of Interstate 95. That kind of sliver of a remainder of a property includes an existing home on the south end, and it also includes 6 existing billboard locations. And those billboards, of course, are visible from I-95. And the purpose of this subdivision was to separate the billboards from the property that was sold to Mr. Mizell recently. Although this property does have a little bit of road frontage along Red Oak Brattleboro Road, there is a non-access easement established there at the request of NCDOT, which means that the subject property here would have to be accessed from the end of Quail Roost Road only. Nash County Public Water is not currently available to this property, but it could potentially be extended to the property as part of an upcoming expansion project to begin construction in early 2025. The subject property is currently zoned RC Rural Commercial, as you can see from the orangish color that denotes that property on the zoning map. It is surrounded by the green R30 residential zoning. That means that because that property is currently zoned rural commercial, there's a variety of moderate intensity commercial land uses that are currently permitted by right there. They include retail, shopping, office, and service businesses. Some examples that we typically see in the county's jurisdiction would be things like motor vehicle sales, a convenience store, a restaurant. All of those could be developed as a land use permitted by right under the current rural commercial zoning district. The property owner has brought the request this morning because he wishes to develop the subject property for a new home and potentially for further residential lots in the future. Since this commercial zoning district does not permit residential development, the property owner has submitted this request asking to rezone the property to RA30, single-family residential. Now, this would be considered a downzoning under the state definition because it would reduce both the number and the intensity of the land uses permitted for development on the property. There are many more land uses permitted under the current commercial zoning that are considered more intensive than the residential land uses that would be allowed following an approval of this rezoning to a residential zoning district. Anytime we examine a zoning amendment, we're required by state law to assess its consistency with the recommendations of our comprehensive land use plan. As you can see from this excerpt from our future land use map from the plan, the subject property is designated by this green color, meaning that it is identified as a residential agricultural area. The plan recommends a minimum allowable residential lot size of 30,000 square feet for this area, which is consistent with the dimensional requirements of the proposed RA30 zoning district. The plan also recommends that residential rezonings in this area should be limited to RA districts only in order to limit the proliferation of manufactured homes, unless both public water and sewer service is available. Public water and sewer service is not available, and so in an effort to conform this request as much as possible to the recommendations of the land use plan, the applicant has proposed an RA30 zoning district that would not permit the development of manufactured homes. I want to point out that that will make this property slightly more restricted in development than the surrounding adjacent R30, where double-wide manufactured homes are permitted as long as they have a permanent foundation. We also consider the reasonableness and spot zoning concerns of any rezoning map amendment. This request may be considered reasonable and in the public interest because it would not be considered spot zoning because the subject property will be rezoned for residential use and development, similar to those adjacent properties to the north, south, and east that are in that green already existing R30 zoning district. Also, as I just mentioned, the proposed RA30 zoning district will be slightly more restrictive than that surrounding R30 zoning district because it won't permit the development of double-wide manufactured homes. The Technical Review Committee considered this request back on October 31st and recommended approval. The Planning Board considered this request on November 18th. Mr. Mizell, the property owner and applicant, addressed the board at that time in support of the request. Ms. Ordine Robinson of 5413 Quail Roost Road addressed the board with concerns including the potential for increased traffic and property taxes and the width of the existing public road that provides access to the property. Having heard from the public, the planning board voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request and the downzoning of the property. Included in your staff report are motions to either approve or deny the zoning map amendment. Each motion is accompanied by a statement of plan consistency and reasonableness. And we would ask that that be adopted or amended as needed to reflect the wishes of the board. I would also note that typically what the board deals with is a conditional rezoning. This is a general rezoning, so there is not the opportunity to attach conditions. If approved, the subject property will be developable for any of the land uses that are typically allowed in an RA30 single-family residential zoning district. With that, I will pause and take any questions that the board has on the staff report prior to opening the public hearing on this matter.
Are there any questions of staff?
Mr. Chairman. Go ahead, Fred.
I just had two quick questions around this. How far, because I'm not familiar with the area, is this subdivision or rezoning from the city limits?
Of Dorches, which is I'm not sure of the distance.
Less than half a mile.
About half a mile.
Correct.
Half a mile. And has there been any attempt from the town to annex this property?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And then how many homes will be proposed to be built on this, under the current guidelines?
Well, the development of homes, if this is approved, each lot would have to have 30,000 square feet, and each lot would have to be found suitable for a new on-site septic system because there's no sewer available. The applicant has not proposed a specific design, nor is he required to for a general rezoning. He has spoken in the planning board about the potential for larger lots, perhaps larger than an acre. He may be able to expand on that today, but him or a future owner could potentially develop it for 30,000 square foot lots, provided that they extended Quail Roost Road and provided that each lot would be acceptable for an on-site septic system.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman, I believe Ms. Leggett had a question.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question was pretty similar, just clarifying that this is a general rezoning request only with no subdivision plan proposed. And then my second question was, is Quail Roost Road a publicly maintained right-of-way?
It is. It has been adopted, at least to its current extent, by the state for maintenance by the NCDOT.
Thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
Adam, like you said, we normally see RA conditional use 30, and we have a general here. Is anything come to your mind which has been eliminated because of conditional use that would still be available here? I know you say many times modular homes, but does this also wouldn't allow modular homes in the RA-30? I'm just not that familiar with that.
Modular homes are permitted everywhere that regular stick-built homes are allowed.
I used the
They're
wrong
not
word.
considered manufactured homes.
Correct.
So they will continue to be
Okay.
allowed on the
My
property.
question is about manufactured homes, I'm sorry.
Okay, so manufactured homes, single wides or double wides, are currently allowed in the surrounding R30 zoning district. Well, excuse me, only a double wide is allowed, and only if that double wide has a permanent foundation. But because this is an RA30, slightly more restrictive than the surrounding R30, the applicant has chosen that zoning district in order to comply with the recommendations of the land use plan, which is, as we're going forward rezoning property, we should attempt to limit the proliferation of manufactured homes. And so double wides would not be allowed following the approval of this rezoning, but stick-built and modular homes would.
Okay. And my second and last question is, if it were developed as a third subdivision in the future, will that layout and plan come back to this Board of Commissioners?
It would not. It would come to the planning board for an administrative level approval.
Right.
Typically, the technical review committee would recommend to a developer that wants to rezone to residential, that is looking for higher density, to bring a conditional rezoning that is accompanied by a subdivision development plan. In this case, because the applicant is not seeking higher density and because it's considered a downzoning, a lessening of the intensive commercial uses to a residential use, the Technical Review Committee did not feel that a conditional rezoning would be warranted here. However, the board may feel differently, but that's why it's being brought as a general rezoning, because of that substantial decrease in allowances from the commercial down to residential.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is
Belfield?
is the property now, since it's part agricultural, is it being farmed now?
I'm not sure about that, but I think the applicant may be able to confirm that during the public hearing.
Any other questions of staff? I would note that this rezoning matter is in Commissioner Arrington's district. If there are no other questions of staff, I'd call for a motion to go into public hearing.
Move we go into a public hearing.
Motion by Fred Belfield.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Assuming no further discussion, we're now in public hearing. Anyone from the public like to speak on this matter?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Excuse me one second. Madam Clerk, do you have a question?
Vote on the
Okay,
motion.
sorry.
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion to go into public hearing indicate by saying yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. We're now in public hearing. The motion passes.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank y'all for allowing me the time to come up here and speak. My name's Eddie Mizell, my wife Gina. We have bought this piece of property to put, as of right now, just one home on it. And if you'll notice on your maps, it'll be just beyond, there's a tree line about 2/3 way down the property. We're looking to build a 1,500 to 1,600 square foot house there. We are not looking to put, as I've heard rumors, 75 houses in there, by no means. We're not even considering anything else other than, right now, than us putting a home on it. I'm sorry, I'm just getting over a cold if I cough. That being said, during the planning commissioners meeting, several questions were asked to me about that. I can tell you honestly, out of my heart, I don't see but one house back there. I did not want to buy 25 acres, but I had the price I bought the land for, I could not afford to buy it all. And we're just going to put one house on the back 3.5, 4 acres of cleared land, and there's 3 acres of woods behind that. Don't know what else I can truly say about it. When I spoke to all the concerned citizens about it, I told them our intentions, what we were planning on doing it, and some of the things they heard were totally off base, were not even true. And I asked them to, if you have any questions about the land that I have purchased, please ask me about it. Hear it from the horse's mouth. I will tell you honestly what we're gonna do. And right now, the only plans is just to build one house. Now, if somebody comes by and wants to still farm the land that we have there, I have no problem with that. They can come farm it. If somebody wants to come purchase the land, if they're willing to pay the price for the lots, and hopefully the lots will go between 3 to 5 acres. I don't want to put 75 houses back there, but I would be considered anywhere from a 2 to 5 acre lot for somebody to build a house on. I don't want to decrease any property values. I just trying to make this where me and my wife would feel comfortable about living. And we don't have any problems with 95 from where we stay at now. We can hear 95 from our house now. 95 doesn't pose a problem to us. And if y'all have any questions for me, please feel free to ask me, and I will tell you honestly.
Any questions of the applicant?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
I asked the question earlier, It's residential, agricultural, is any of it, that property?
Because I don't have the thing right here, Mr. Belfield. Okay. From, do you see this trip?
I can't explain that.
There's a tree line about 2/3 of the way down. If it is where the white box is sitting, there it is, where that white box is sitting, and pointing to that tree line area there. Everything to the north of that, south of that is still going to be farmland as of this time. We're only considering putting our house in this general area, right there where that black arrow is.
Any other questions, Ms. Belfield?
No.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Mr. Chairman, I just have, on the rezoning request, it says the property owner wishes to develop the subject property for a new home and potentially the further residential lots, for further residential lots in the future, but you're saying there's no plan for that. Is
Right
that
now, no
right?
ma'am. Like I said, if I do anything, my intention is not to develop it and put several houses out there. But if somebody came by and said, I want to build a house on your property, there would be no more than 3 or 4 houses ever put on that last 15 to 20 acres.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I would like to thank y'all for your time and hearing me, please. Thank y'all. Have a good day.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? I would ask the board, if you would, it would help me a lot when we going through a matter like this, if you just throw up your hand and ever who I recognize first, I'll call on, and then I'll call on others after that, rather than just speaking out. If you give your name, I'd appreciate it.
My name's Dustin Wright, and I've lived there for a couple years now. That road hasn't been state maintained. Every time it rains, it floods. The ditches need to be redone. Like, it's bad. Even the school down the road, it floods every time. So, like, to say that that road has been state maintained. Now, just recently on the main road of Red Oak Brattleboro Road, they were putting in culverts for the main road, but they didn't do anything for our neighborhood. And I'm speaking on behalf of my stepdad, who's here, because he owns the property at 5398 Quail Roost Road. I'm not for this, because I don't like this stuff, like to say that we're going to do this, but then we're opening the door for things. I like to come out of my back door and see farmland, and it is being farmed as we speak right now. It is being farmed. It's farmland. They do all kinds of farming on that. And I made it a point to miss part of my job to come here and speak, because I'm not usually given a voice. But to connect to our road like that, that would increase the traffic flow in there, and it's a little country road. We don't want no more traffic. We don't want stuff to connect to it, build upon it. My only thing is, if they build something like that, to not connect to our road, but put a fence around their property, so we ain't gotta look at that stuff. But my main thing is I ain't for it. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else? Hearing none, I'd call for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any further discussion before we close the public hearing? All those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Public hearing is closed. Discussion from the board, questions for the staff?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Davis?
Adam, is it any way we could put any additional restrictions on this general use rezoning here tonight, today, or is that we cannot do that?
We cannot. If the board is not comfortable with the general rezoning, it could turn it down, leave the property zone commercial, and Mr. Mizell could come back with a conditional rezoning that would afford the board the opportunity to add conditions. I think what I would point out is if the rezoning is approved, then this subject property actually has less freedom to be developed than the adjacent large field that already borders half of the lots in this Quail Roost subdivision, because this property could be subdivided into 30,000 square foot lots now without being reviewed by the Board of Commissioners, with the exception being that this could be a development completely of double-wide manufactured homes. The request is to give this property equal development rights as this adjacent residential property, with the added stipulation that double-wides would not be permitted. But if the board is not comfortable with that, then you can turn down the rezoning, leave it zoned commercial, which in the meantime, it could be developed for commercial use if the applicant so chose to do that. And he could return with a conditional rezoning prior to being able to build his house on that property. I would also point out that before he could subdivide this property, there would have to be additional road and infrastructure constructed to accommodate those additional lots. So he could not jump directly to subdividing, and that would be reviewed by staff and by the planning board as part of an administrative review process. And also to clarify one other point, the road has been assigned a state road number, meaning that it is the responsibility of the NCDOT to maintain it. But of course, I can't comment on what maintenance activities may or may not have happened recently to that road. So I just wanted to clarify that.
One last question, can he obtain a permit to build a house on a commercial property?
No, about a year or so, or maybe 2 years ago, typically a single-family stick-built home was permitted in a commercial zoning district, but at the request of the Board of Commissioners, we adopted a text amendment to remove a single-family dwelling as a permitted land use from a commercial zoning district. So he cannot obtain the building permit until the property is rezoned to residential.
I don't have an issue with this rezoning at hand. I just wanted to make sure we understood everything, and I thought we had eliminated single family. It is a considerable down zone from what it currently is.
Correct.
As you have pointed out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions of staff?
I just have one since I'm new, and I apologize for delaying this.
Commissioner Howell?
If it's commercial, there's no single-family dwelling homes, but can you put multifamily home unit in there? In other words, apartment complex or condos?
Good question.
I'd have to consult the ordinance. I think we did a pretty good job of eliminating any residential land use. When we eliminated single-family dwelling, we also eliminated a handful of other residential land uses that were permitted in rural commercial. So I'm fairly certain that the answer to your question is no, it cannot be developed for multifamily. I do want to amend a statement I made a few minutes ago. Because the state exempts subdivisions that result in lots greater than 10 acres, the property owner could potentially put 2 homes on this property without coming to the planning board for approval. But because you can only create 2 10-plus acre lots out of a 25-acre piece, that would be the extent that he could do without having to build additional infrastructure. So there could be a second home without the planning board having to be involved.
One more follow-up with that, and just for clarification for me, and I'll try not to do this again in the future, and appreciate everybody's patience. But if it is approved for commercial in a rural area, so they can come in and build a business, which would increase traffic significantly, maybe even more than adding homes in there as well. So it's already approved for that currently?
Correct. It's already approved for commercial by some rezoning amendment adopted in the past from before my time by the Board of Commissioners. And the applicant could develop it now without seeking additional permission from the board for a commercial land use like motor vehicle sales, convenience store, restaurant, and as you say, all of that commercial traffic would be directed along Quail Roost Road as well because it's a public right-of-way.
Thank you.
Mr. Tyson, could you explain why this is zone commercial?
I could not. I have not been successful in locating a file that would inform me about the original rezoning of the property. So it predates the records. The commercial status of this property predates the records I was able to locate, so I can't provide any additional information on the thought process behind its original commercial rezoning. I suspect it may have been tied to the development of the property for the 6 billboards and how billboards functioned in the ordinance at that time, but that's my speculation.
That is mine also. This property is basically commercial zone because its proximity to 95. And basically, there have been billboard signs, and that's why it's commercial. There's no access road to this property other than the Quail Roost route. And I do not see any business locating back there because it's not an exit off of 95, and it's just a back lot that happened to be labeled agriculture commercial. Now, this gentleman has explained that he intends to build his home for him and his wife, and maybe sell 2 or 3 or 4 lots to others. So I am not bothered by this. The community who have had concerns about it have met with him, and their concerns have been pretty much relieved because, as he explained, it will not be developed commercial unless they make a exit off of 95, then it would be a problem. But I don't see that becoming an exit off of 95.
Other questions, staff? Anyone? Any other comments? Hearing none, I'd call for a motion to adopt a statement of plan consistency and reasonableness and to either approve or deny the zoning map amendment.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I move that the Nash County Board of Commissioners adopt the statement of plan consistency and reasonableness and approve this rezoning of request Z241101 to rezone and subject property RA30, single-family residential.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Arrington, you got a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the approval indicate by the sign of yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion passes. Move now to agenda item number 11. Monthly tax report. I'd call on Tax Administrator Marion Cascone. And Ms. Cascone, when you complete this, just stay for the next item, which would be the tax refund request.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
Everybody. In keeping with North Carolina General Statute 105-357, the tax collector will be providing a monthly report showing the amount of taxes collected and the efforts being made to collect those taxes. This report is designed to keep the board current on the activities, and it is recommended that you accept the report so that it will be noted in the minutes.
This is an informational item only, and it is requested that we accept the report and place it in the minutes. Without objection, we will do that. Thank you, Ms. Cascone.
Wonderful.
Go to item number 12, tax refund request.
Yes, sir. In compliance with North Carolina General Statutes, Article 27, 105-381, the tax collector will submit to the governing board for their approval any tax refunds after legitimacy of the refund has been established. However, there are no refunds to consider.
Again, this is an informational item only today. There are no refunds for consideration. Thank you, Ms. Cascon.
Thank you, and I wish you all a happy holiday.
Go to agenda item number 13, a fireworks permit. Call on Deputy Fire Marshal Chris Jenkins.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
This is for a fireworks permit request. Nash County Fire Marshal's Office received a permit application to conduct a fireworks display for Brownsville Family Farms on December 31st, 2024 at the Nashville Junction in Nashville. The operational permit requester is the contractor Class A Services and Storage Incorporated of 160 White Oak Bluff Drive, Stella, North Carolina. The permit application and accompanying documents are in order, and a copy of the insurance bond with Nash County as an additional insured is attached. North Carolina General Statute 14-410 requires the Board of Commissioners give approval prior to the Fire Marshal issuing the permit. Nash County Fire Marshal's Office recommends approval of the operational permit for Class A Services and Storage Incorporated.
Any discussion or comments from the board? Hearing none, I'd call for a motion to approve the permit.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we approve the fireworks permit request.
Commissioner Leggett made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Howell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 14, call on the HHS Director, Bill Hill, and accompanying him today would be Liz Lloyd, the Deputy Health Director, to make the presentation. Welcome, Mr. Hill, Ms. Lloyd. Good morning.
Take care of our health director. This looks a pretty good sanitation bill here. Good morning. I come before you this morning with an issue we've discussed before, with consideration for consolidation of our Rocky Mount, Nashville offices on the hospital campus. As we've talked about before and provided information on the existing operations, our locations, as I just mentioned, are in our Rocky Mount office on Franklin Street and our operation in Nashville and hospital campus presence. But we've talked about the services, clinical services we provide. We've certainly talked about distance factors involved. But today, the purpose is to address, I think per request from the commissioners, that we address the accessibility. What if we consolidate, and that is the consideration on the table now, the fact that we got a building that's actually owned by Nash County on the hospital campus. It's of adequate size. A lot of work's been done with the architectural planning for it. But to address the accessibility issue, Liz has worked with a facilities project since she was in graduate school, and she's going to follow through today with looking at what we recommend to address the accessibility issue with the medical mobile unit. Without any further ado, I'll turn it over to her. She's got a presentation to give on the medical mobile unit.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. All right, let's dive right in. During this presentation, we'll go ahead and take a quick look at the benefits that have been identified in studies of mobile medical units, a proposed unit itself, the team that we think would need to staff the unit, and then a plan for piloting the program, taking a mobile program out into the community, and then an opportunity for any questions. So the most obvious benefit of a mobile medical unit is improved accessibility. We know transportation issues are a barrier to accessing health care. A mobile unit would allow the health department to provide care anywhere in the county, making it easier for people in rural and underserved areas to get the care they need. A mobile unit would be highly adaptable to the changing needs of Nash County citizens. As populations and their medical needs shift within the county, the unit's schedule and locations or sites could also change. In addition, mobile units can be repurposed in emergencies. For example, in Flint, Michigan, mobile units were repurposed to screen for lead poisoning and developmental issues after discovering the contaminated drinking water supply. They can also go into rural and underserved areas and provide large vaccine clinics seasonally or during emergencies like a pandemic. The feeling that providers in the system don't care about the patient is an often cited barrier to healthcare, especially in populations served by safety net organizations like ours. Mobile units, with their patient-centered approach that starts with us, the healthcare providers, going to them, the patients, have successfully regained people's trust in healthcare and helped connect them with other services and resources as well. Setting up in familiar, safe spaces such as church and store parking lots, mobile home parks, and recreational parks make the clinic feel more welcoming and less intimidating. Mobile units have had success focusing on providing services to vulnerable populations, such as people who are homeless, displaced populations, including people staying in shelters, migrant workers, the underinsured, and children. They've also successfully attracted another population known to be less likely to seek care, the male patient. About 50% of mobile medical patients are men. By taking health care to the people, these patients get the care they need before ending up in the emergency department or with a late diagnosis, like cancer that has already spread. This leads to better health outcomes and health system cost savings. Lastly, providing care in a mobile setting would allow us to gauge where there's demand for services and the sustainability of delivering services in various locations. This would be helpful if, at some point in the future, the county would want to consider building a brick-and-mortar satellite office. Here you can see an example of the unit. The unit we've looked at comes from Mission Medical Mobile. They're an organization located in Greensboro, North Carolina. They've provided units to 42 states and are working on a unit right now that's going to Africa. They are on North Carolina state contract. We've looked at the dual exam unit, and we have a video here that you'll get to see. You'll get to walk through to kind of see what it looks like. Notably, no CDL license is required. And I won't read all of the details for you. They also provide a lot of wraparound services to ensure the success of the program. So they come service the vehicles, they'll come change the oil right here in Nash County, they'll maintain the generator, provide training. They have staff go there, learn how to drive the thing. That can be a barrier for folks. It can be intimidating to drive a large camper like that, but they make sure that staff feel safe driving on highways and backcountry roads and in the city. And they also have a staff member who has launched mobile medical units in a local health department setting and can work with us to ensure success getting that launched. And I also wanted to lastly touch on with the initial cost at the bottom. There's a range there based on the lower end range is on a used unit that's repurposed, all the way up to a brand new unit right off the Winnebago factory line, and then an estimated operational cost that includes staffing. And this is
Hey y'all, I'm Rhett with Mission Mobile Medical, and today we're going to take a quick walkthrough of our brand new large dual exam mobile clinic. So one thing I love about this particular mobile clinic is it is so easy to drive. It might be intimidating at first, but when you sit down in the seat, all the controls are right in front of you. You got a backup camera, you got everything you need right here, and we're going to teach you how to operate it. We're going to teach you how to drive it, park it, make sure you know where all the controls are. So one thing that our clients really appreciate about our large dual exam is this front exam room. The space is incredible. It's about 12 feet by 10 feet, and it's perfect for very private patient exams, or if you have a group session or have family members or loved ones that want to be in the room, or you have multiple providers performing services for a patient. It's really a flexible space where you can provide a lot of different services to your patients. Our engineering and product design teams spend a lot of time on this waiting area. It's a great spot for providers to meet with patients and for other family members to join in as well. So in this middle section, what we really try to focus on is creating enough space for storage, documentation, all the types of desktop size medical equipment that you may need. So this section here is about 7 feet wide, and it has plenty of outlets for plugging in laptops, centrifuges, printers, whatever needs to go up here for your particular service. You'll also see cabinets above and below for plenty of storage. It's also very easy to clean. We have solid surface countertops to make sure that after every day, your team can easily clean those countertops to keep them safe for your patient population. So we've included a restroom. Some of you may choose not to have a restroom, just depends on what services you're trying to provide. So we're in our second exam room now, and while it's a little bit smaller than the front exam, it's still ideal for the types of services you'll need to provide. One thing I wanted to point out, our standard dual exam comes with 2 exam beds, 2 stools, 2 sharps containers, glove box holders, paper towel holders, hand soap, etc. We have a few options you can add, like a sink, for example, which really make this a customizable but pretty standard offering. So we hope you've seen that we've really put a lot of time and effort into designing this space to be perfect for providers and for patients alike. We really feel strongly that this is an amazing option. It's affordable. We can build it in 90 to 120 days, and it's easy to service. And those are the 3 things that we think community healthcare deserves, and we're happy to support you guys in whatever way we can. So thanks a lot, and I hope you have a great day.
Okay. Now we'll take a look at the team. Our core medical mobile team would consist of an advanced practice provider, either a family nurse practitioner or physician assistant, a nurse, and a clerical support staff member. Mission, as I mentioned earlier, Mission Mobile supports building and launching a successful medical mobile program, including logistics, legal compliance, vehicle service, and job hiring. We would need a tight-knit, experienced, confident team, cross-trained in operating the vehicle and other duties. Depending upon community needs, we could also rotate in different providers, such as our fantastic midwife, WIC team, case managers, or members of the health education team. We would want to pilot the program to identify potential issues before launching it on a full scale. To this end, we would identify 2 to 3 locations within the areas of concentrated poverty in Nash County to pilot those services. And as a reminder from the last presentation, those lime green areas that kind of follow along the 64 corridor and down the western edge of the county down into the Middlesex area is one area of concentrated poverty. And then on the far eastern border, in the Rocky Mount area extending down towards Sharpsburg, is the other area of concentrated poverty. During the pilot phase, we would evaluate the mobile medical program by collecting visit data and feedback from patients and staff at 3, 6, and 12-month intervals. We would use that feedback to make adjustments and improvements to the program before adding additional locations or sites. Over time, we would, however, add sites and adjust the services offered based on community needs and mobile unit capacity. We would continue to evaluate the program at least annually, if not more often, to assess effectiveness, adjust site locations, and as part of a continuous quality improvement process. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Lord. Ms. Hill, if you'd stay up close to the podium, are there questions from staff, from the board? Any questions?
Yes.
Comment.
Commissioner Arrington?
I need you to remove the operational staff part. I need to know how much it costs to operate the unit itself without staff. You included staff. I guess I'm basically asking, what's the operational maintenance cost of the?
That is built into the $371,000 for the remanufacturing. There's an amount of money, like $15,000, I think, for a 2-year period of time, and that goes into the operations, the oil changes, et cetera. It's banked in such a way that if you don't spend it, it goes over to the next year. There is a 10-year warranty on the actual facility, but we think the operational cost, and I know you said without staff, but with staff, is probably with a core staff of 3 members looking at oil, looking at electricity, looking at internet, and some of those other factors, probably a little over $300,000 a year, I think.
Yeah. Well, you know, the way you had it listed, it looked like the mobile unit might cost that amount. But, I mean, she explained that, but I wanted to know how much the maintenance of the unit would be. Thank you.
Other questions? Mr. Belfield?
Oh, I was just not a personal comment. I think a mobile unit will enhance healthcare here in Nash County, and I certainly would support it.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Davis?
Were either of y'all a little bit surprised on the green locations on this map? It surprised me a little bit, the concentration of where this is. And to further ask the question, at the top of that map, if you could bring it back up, is the green there outside of Nash County? At the very top of the map, is that in Halifax County, or is that still part of Nash County?
That is Halifax County.
That's Halifax County. It's just, my question is, were y'all surprised at the concentration of poverty?
I was. I mean, I was.
And I think another thing we talked about, they're about the same number of people, it's just more densely populated in the South Rocky Mountain area.
Right.
But when you look, it's just about the same number.
Yep. I'm just a little surprised, Mr. Arrington, that wasn't some showing up in your district. Did that catch your eye? I was a little bit surprised that none of it showed up. It doesn't appear like in your district, and I thought we would have had some poverty citizens in that area.
So these are areas of concentrated poverty.
Okay.
So there's definitely poverty. In the last presentation, there was another map, and there's poverty throughout the county.
Okay.
But these are where.
These are the concentration areas.
Right.
That helps me understand it.
The areas of
And
most
most of that data came from.
From the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services.
That's not what we came up with.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You have other questions, Commissioner Davis?
No, sir, thank you.
Anyone down here? Commissioner Wilkins?
Where it says Rocky Mountain, is that all of Rocky Mountain? I see some of Rocky Mountain is in the white.
Yes, I mean, the map, I don't know that it has the city limits in there, but.
Yeah, I'm looking, I think I can see Raleigh Street and Koki, which is Edgecombe County, but you see what I'm saying?
It is, the data is based on census tracts rather than town or city limits. So it's the way the census cuts the map up into pieces.
Okay.
Commissioner Howell?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just more really of a comment, I guess, since I'm new to this. And I know we've got the consolidation consideration we're looking at as well, and that was thrust upon me last week. And I think this may be something the county could look at, entertain doing it would benefit the citizens. But I think before we can make a decision on this, I feel like we need to make a decision on where we choose option 1, 2, or 3 on the consolidation of our current brick and mortars. And I think there's a lot of questions left on that unanswered. And I think before we, just personally, before we can decide to spend this money, we need to decide how much the other is going to cost us and what's going to be best for the citizens in Nash County.
Any other questions, discussion? Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, we're going to hand.
So to
Boone.
speak to some of the issues that Commissioner Howell raised, just want to remind the board, the presentation that Mr. Hill and Ms. Lord provided the board back on September 23rd. We did discuss 3 options with the board based on some due diligence work that we completed with the assistance of Oakley Collier Associates. We did discuss 3 options, as Commissioner Howell referenced. Option one was a phased approach. So basically using the Med Park building to relocate the existing clinic in the 300 block of South Franklin Street to the hospital campus. And then at some point in the future, potentially bring the Nashville office to also the Med Park building. That was option one, and just want to remind the board, the phase 1 cost, so just to renovate the building to accommodate the Rocky Mount operation, right at $1.9 million.
and then to accommodate the Phase 2, so to bring Nashville also into the building, again, in a phased approach with additional $1.1 million for a total project budget. You see 2,982, we'll just call it $3 million. The second option that was presented to the board was to make a single move, consolidate both offices into the MedPark building in one combined transition. Again, basically the floor plan would look the same, but we would make all those renovations at one time. And Oakley Collier anticipated we may realize a small savings, not a appreciable amount, but would reduce the budget from 2,982, 830 to 2,8335, or excuse me, 688. So a little bit less than 5% savings. And then the third option was to basically use that building for some other purpose. It is on the hospital campus. It's primarily office space. There is some small clinical space, but certainly this renovation to accommodate the Nashville office and the Rocky Mount office would require quite a bit of renovation to build the clinical space needed to consolidate those two offices. So again, to Commissioner Howell's point, the reason that we brought the presentation back to the board today to address those concerns about if the two clinics were to be consolidated in Rocky Mount, how would we provide service to those other areas in the county that may have further travel distances or currently underserved by our two clinics that we currently operate. So pause right there and see if there's any questions about that. And again, I know you don't have the benefit of that September 23rd presentation other than having provided those slides to you, but we did discuss quite a bit of this material. And I know some supplemental material was sent to the board in advance of the meeting today based on some questions that Commissioner Howell had posed prior to today's presentation.
Commissioner Wilkins, I'm sorry, Commissioner-elect.
Thank you, Chairman. So what my question is for option 3, do we have any estimates on what the cost would look like to possibly sell the building and construct a new facility? On any estimates there?
So I believe in the material we sent to the board, we have not asked for an appraisal of the existing building. We have information on the tax value. And I unfortunately did not bring that. Of all the things I did bring with me today, I did not bring that with me. I believe the existing building was right at $4 million. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And again, that building is about 52,000 square feet. Depending on how big a building we were to build, whether that be one building or replicate two buildings, but say if we built that same building somewhere else, I think we could conservatively anticipate that rebuilding that building, the cost of land aside, just to build a building would likely be, I'd say a good average number is $400 a square feet. So we're looking at, let's just say a $16 to $20 million investment to rebuild that building in addition to the cost of land at some other location within the county. So we currently have an existing building with cost to renovate either option 1 or 2 about $3 million. So with our purchase and renovation, I would say we're less than 20% of the cost to build that building somewhere else.
Have we done any sort of, I know we've kind of looked at this MedPark building because the county owns it now and because it would be extremely useful and practical to use the building, but has there been any sort of space study on the needs of the health department?
So at some point, I probably need to turn this back over to the health director and to assistant director, but we did engage Oakley Collier in looking at what our existing footprint looks like in our existing clinics and engaging staff in what our future looks like based on trends and appointments, growth in the county, et cetera. And the plan for the MedPark building builds that into the renovation plan. So for example, in our existing 2 clinics, I believe we have 13 clinical spaces. And in the renovated building, apologize, that is small, but in this section here is where the clinical space is proposed. We're proposing to develop 18 clinical spaces. So it provides for the existing 13 we have and an additional 5, anticipating future growth and additional programming, things that really our existing footprint limits the health department in terms of services they could provide, so they could expand those services. So we have built growth into the proposed renovation plan. That's probably why I need to turn this back over to Bill.
I believe we also have veteran services in that building.
We looked at some other options, a small, we had some additional square footage here possibly for veteran services. That was 3 offices that could be used for that purpose or some other purpose. But the footprint is primarily allocated to health department functions.
Other questions? Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, sir. So if I understand correctly, and I'm still just trying to, like a wet sponge, soak all this in, but we're currently utilizing around 27,000 square feet total at our satellite office in Rocky Mount and our facility in Nashville. The new building is going to give us over around 52,000 square feet, somewhere around there.
That's correct.
And if you look at the numbers of your patients being seen or the number of visits you're processing throughout a year, they've been on a decline other than during the time of COVID, which that would be expected. When do you think those numbers will level back off? Do you think they're going to continue to decline, or are they going to maintain?
We're seeing come back from the pandemic. We've seen that in a lot of different industries, and especially in healthcare. And people were staying home and receiving remote services. Instead of coming, even at the end of the pandemic, they were doing home testing instead of coming to the clinic. But we're starting to see those increases at the health department now. And like I said, during the COVID, that was just a full focus on COVID, vaccinations, testing, and those kinds of things. So I do think we'll start to see an increase there.
And I guess my concern is, we've talked about in the map, I think Commissioner Davis brought it up a while ago, the green areas on there. And of course, we've got Rocky Mount in that area. And of course, the Middlesex area, the southern part of the district, is a lot larger concentration area. I think it's about 55% there and 45% in Rocky Mount, if I remember the numbers correctly. So by us moving this to Rocky Mount at the hospital, we're creating more of a disadvantage for our underprivileged citizens already and not giving them the ability to travel this closer. And I understand that's probably why we're discussing the mobile unit. But I think doubling the space for the facility, I know we talked about adding some additional departments in there as well to utilize that space. So I think when we calculate option 3, we need to look at that as well and, consider those other spaces as being utilized for other services, remove a portion of that from our consideration for what the cost would be to build a new building. And
Well, again, in terms of the renovated space here, it was really only 3 offices allocated to a department other than the health department. So 3 office spaces, they may be 150, 200 square feet. So let's just use round numbers. We could take 1,000 square feet off of that if you include the support areas. So again, a majority of the building is allocated to the health department and the programs offered by the health department. And I will point out, and it maybe goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, this building will provide additional functionality that we do not currently have in either one of our clinics, whether in Rocky Mount or in Nashville. And that be training space, meeting space where they could host community groups. We really do not have venues in any of our clinics today for the health department to offer that kind of programming. So I'm not sure if that was part of your question, but I do want to clarify. Certainly, that is a significant jump from 27,000 to 52,000, but we're adding additional infrastructure, additional programming opportunities, programmatic opportunities that do not exist today if the board were to decide to consolidate our operations in this building. And then to your point, and again, the map that Liz was kind enough to share with us, showing those areas of concentrated poverty, with that mobile unit, we can take that service to the client, as opposed to asking the client to come to us. If transportation is an issue, we can take those services to the client and determine if we have a gap that needs to be met. That's something that I think we'd want to come back and engage the board in that conversation about,
and a follow-up.
How best to address that need if there's a need above and beyond the service we could provide with the acquisition of a mobile unit.
And for your estimated cost for the mobile unit, is the same service you're offering in that mobile unit will be the exact same service you're offering in the brick and mortar?
I'm going to kick that back to the health director.
Well, certainly we have looked at the kind of services, and we do plan to offer those kinds of services, whether it's STD, maternity care with a nurse practitioner, on-site, family planning, pediatrics, immunizations. And during those special times of need, if we, Lord forbid, had a need for a pandemic or some special item, we would bring vaccination clinics to that area. I think you know this, but we're already in 4,500 square feet in this building with case management. So we've been there for a long time. We were there with home health for years, and when home health was sold 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago maybe, we moved in with our case management. There's an inefficiency factor that's involved with the way we operate now. We have to swing staff over to our Rocky Mount office on heavy days, and then vice versa, sometimes back for Rocky Mount. So we do have some shifting of staff involved going to the Rocky Mount office and then going back to the Nashville office. There's a little bit of inefficiency that takes place. There's also some staff issues there. I mean, if you had a consolidated office, wherever it might be, you would certainly be able to have one postal service, you'd have one laboratory, you'd have one reception area, you'd have one of lots of things as opposed to the duplicated. For example, we have 2 receptionists in WIC. We have 2 WIC offices. We would consolidate that. I think we would gain some staff out of that consolidation, possibly to be used in the mobile unit, certainly a support staff member, and maybe some nurse practitioner member.
Other questions?
Just, I mean, it all sounds good. It sounds like we got a lot of homework to do before we can make a decision on that, just in my personal opinion, from coming in, looking in, because we're looking at affecting the citizens that are at a poverty level and are in dire need of that care. And we also mentioned there was other clinics available in the county, so I haven't had the opportunity just because of the time constraint, but would like to map all those out and see where those fit into this as well, because they also see these patients and service them as well before we make a final decision.
So that is a lot of material that was covered in that September 23rd presentation in terms of the location of those clinics, the services they provide, travel distance that will be added if we were to select option 2. But again, we laid out 2 different options. One was a phased approach, just move Rocky Mount office to the Med Park building, the building that we have in the 300 block of South Franklin Street. If you've happened to drive by or even been in that building, it is an older building. The tax office says 1950. I believe the building was actually probably built prior to 1950, but that's the date they put on it. And this building, on the other hand, was built in 1991. So there are some infrastructure needs that this building would help address really between both offices. But we do have the phased approach, phase 1. Option 2 is just consolidate in one move, and then option 3 is to look at some other location if that's the board's prerogative.
Commissioner Howell?
One more follow-up, just comment, I guess, and I guess the way I look at this to see is Nashville's our center of the county, and that's where basically our building here is, it's where our sheriff's department is, and we're moving things to Rocky Mountain. No offense to Rocky Mountain, but this is the center. So if we're going to look at it from the standpoint of keeping that the center, we need to look at keeping all of our main facilities here as well. Or if we're going to concentrate this basically on those areas of shaded green, which is the poverty areas, then perhaps we use the satellite office that's already in Rocky Mount and construct another facility out at Powell Clinic, which would be a lot smaller facility and cheaper to operate and wouldn't cost the $20 million we were talking about earlier, and utilize the funds from selling or reutilizing that property over at the hospital to pay for that.
Yeah, I
Just
think one
something
of
to
the things we
consider.
covered, and Bill, Liz, please help me, in the September 23rd presentation, which Liz delivered, is most of our, a majority of the clients that are served at the health department, they're maybe more transit captive, that maybe have more transportation issues, although they can be countywide, tend to be in more urbanized areas, which the Med Park building is on the transit route for the city of Rocky Mount, and of course there's also paratransit service throughout the entire county. So that was one of the reasons why the Med Park building we thought was an option for the county to consider, back to transportation being a concern, and then the ability of the mobile unit again to take those services to those communities as opposed to asking those clients to come to us if transportation is an issue. And then there are other benefits you may want to talk about, just co-locating on the hospital campus in terms of the services you provide as opposed to your current 2 clinic
Yeah, just to follow up on what you were saying, we did a study, several studies, where we actually questioned patients. We did a survey, how did you get here? How did you arrive at the clinic, either in Rocky Mount or in Nashville? I would like to point out, while I'm thinking about it, we do provide WIC services 1.5 days a month over in the Bailey area. So that helps that accessibility issue. But your question was with the
advantage of being, if we revisit that September 23rd presentation, the advantage of locating it on the hospital campus.
Yeah, we have, obviously, that's a medical center. That's a mecca for medical care. And we have a lot of work and a lot of support from our Nash OB/GYN group that's centered right there, probably 100 yards from this building. Our Nash OB/GYN doctors go to our Rocky Mount office every Wednesday and provide a large number of services. We used to say we've served just about the same number of patients in Nashville as we did in Rocky Mount. But because of the maternity shift of high-risk patients to our Rocky Mount office, and that's because our doctors go to our Rocky Mount office and do not drive over to Nashville, we shift a lot of our high-risk patients and later-term pregnancy patients over to our Rocky Mount office. Having said that, there's obviously some advantage if they get referred back and forth between the private doctors that are located on a hospital campus, or even in a BSEP, a breast cancer prevention program like we do, referring them to mammography right there at the breast center at the hospital campus. So it is a hub of medical care providers in the hospital area. But I very much understand your question about Rocky Mount and the rest of Nash County and the county seat. I understand that part too.
And I think if you look at the numbers too, we're seeing, I think about 45% out-of-county residents in these facilities. So that's my concern in moving this further to Rocky Mount. We're going to see more of those patients and be a disadvantage to our citizens here in Nash County and to citizens that are paying for that service.
Yeah, 45%.
So we're seeing.
Based off the numbers in your chart you presented in September.
In total, we served people from at least 43 different counties, but the vast majority of folks are Nash County.
Yeah.
I'm just going off the numbers you presented in your presentation. If you add them and divide, it's 45% out of county. Somebody can check the math on me behind that, but that's 45. It's primarily coming from Halifax.
Yeah.
And Edgecombe County.
Yeah.
A few from Wilson and a few others out there from other counties, but majority of them are coming from Halifax and Edgecombe.
And I realize that has kind of a negative draw and thought. This is Nash County Health Department. We ought to be serving Nash County citizens. Hey, I get it.
First and foremost.
I agree, totally, agree. But let me just mention this. There's a hospital relationship here with those that come in for maternity care. We're getting reimbursed on those patients that come in because about 85 to 90% are Medicaid eligible. So it's also a financial thing because they want to deliver at Nash Hospital. So it's ones that live just over in Edgecombe County that come through services. There are obviously some services that are built into the cost of what the state grants provide for. But I agree, we should be first and foremost of Nash County Health Department looking at Nash County citizens first.
And there may be an opportunity, and I'm not on the hospital board or no, but I know Sue and Gwen are, but maybe there's something there that can be worked with the hospital to accommodate those other situations there that would, again, free up more capacity and more funds for the citizens in Nash County.
Dr. Lee Isley and I have had a couple of conversations over the last couple of months. We did just a couple of weeks ago about ways we can work together. As a matter of fact, without going into great detail, the hospital's looking at a hospitalist concept where they'd have hospitalist OB/GYNs to deliver at the hospital.
So I think looking at slide 5 from the last presentation, in our Nashville office, we saw 5,249 Nash County residents, and in our Rocky Mount office, we saw 3,972 Nash County residents. The closest to the Nash County numbers, we saw 1,788 Edgecombe County residents in the Rocky Mount office. The highest number of residents from out of county in the Nashville office was also Edgecombe at 337 patients.
In Halifax?
Halifax, we saw 92 in the Rocky Mount office and 58 in the Nashville office.
Over a period of,
A year.
Yeah.
2023.
yeah.
Any more questions down here?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Wilkins?
I don't have a question. I just want to make a comment. When you all first presented in September, I was skeptical because I didn't want to inconvenience the people in the Rocky Mount office to coming over there. But after your presentation and your due diligence and this one and what I have read, I just see this as a win-win for all. The hospital is only 4.8 miles from the Rocky Mount office, I believe, and public transportation is available, and many of them that I spoke to do take public transportation. And unlike I thought before, they have friends and relatives that can take them. And a few even said they would prefer to come over to the Med Park site because it's right there at the hospital should they have any emergency or whatnot. And looking at, I mean, we're doubling our square footage. And I would like everything under one roof, yes. And after looking at all this and thinking about those in Middlesex or Bailey, I believe they come now to the Nashville Health Department, so they would have, I think, about 8 miles further to go. And I have to ask myself, too, how many out in the southern part of the county actually use the health department? But I just think this is a win-win for all, and you all have done your due diligence. You had the what do you call it, the mini unit going to different places, I think will help assist. And if someone needed further treatment after visiting the unit, they could go over to Med Park. And so I see this as a win-win. I would hate for it to move from downtown because of the people that do go there, but like I said, the feedback I have gotten, I have no rebuttal. I mean, like I said, it's a win-win for all, and so I'm in favor of this moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilkins. Anything down here? Commissioner Leggett?
Mr. Chairman?
We're going to get to this side in just a moment.
Yeah. More of a statement than anything. You know, I'd just like to point out this is a big consideration as far as moving a major county facility out of our county seat to Rocky Mount. And would just like to have all the information. I think it would have been helpful for me to have more information on option 3, what the building's value is and what, if we needed to invest in a brand new health department, what that investment would look like.
Thank you, Commissioner Leggett. Down here, Commissioner Davis?
I want to be sure everybody understands this is not something we brought in the last month or two. Actually, we've been working on this for well over 4 years, probably right at 5 years. And a lot of that time was spent getting the building itself back under the control of Nash and Edgecombe County, away from our former East Point that we were involved in. And then we have moved a step further beyond that, and we took the home health money bill, as you know, and utilized that to buy our partner out, which was Edgecombe County. It was $2 million thereabout, and we had to put a little bit in there because in the end we paid Edgecombe County, if I'm not mistaken, $2.2 million. And so we have invested quite a bit in getting control of this building and quite a few lawsuits. And I don't know, you know, my field of expertise is in capital improvements and buildings and so forth. To me, the health department that we have here in Nashville, I hate to be this blunt, but sometimes I am blunt. It is an eyesore for the county of Nash. We can do better. Bill, I know it's home to you, and I'll always remember how we had to discuss at length with you doing improvements on that building because of the cost involved, but it is well beyond its usable life. School system has a formula by which they calculate maintenance cost, debt service on new things, and they utilize that very well, but it's furnished by the state to determine whether it's best to go somewhere else or to keep spending money on a building. I'm afraid we passed that point probably 15, 20 years ago. And we owe our citizens a much better building than that. To build a new health department, as Mr. Boone pointed out, is a cost that it will take us a long time to be able to accomplish that and continue to serve debt service and keep our tax rate where our citizens expect us to keep it. You're talking about a $20 million facility is what Mr. Boone said, and I agree with his number. You're looking at about $400 a foot to do that. And yet we have a building on the hospital grounds that we can consolidate everything into. Does it meet everybody's needs? No, it doesn't. But it's kind of like building a new school, the 3 schools that we consolidated and built a new school. It was a very hard choice to make for our school board. It was a hard choice to make for our Board of Commissioners. But I tell you, since that decision was made, I don't think anybody has had one negative comment about what we ended up with. And I'm speaking of the Red Oak Elementary School. We closed 3 schools to build that school. And I kind of watched the parents in public hearings and so forth, and I've taken the time, because it is my district, to go back and speak to some of those parents that had concerns, had genuine interest in maintaining the older schools that we had, and they are all fine where we ended up. I mean, once you walk in a building that's much, much better, educational building or a health department is just as important, I think. I think we need to remember that there is a study in here that showed that by far the largest number of counties have one health department building. They don't have 2 and 3 buildings. They have one building. All the counties around us have one building. I think if we can just move forward with this, I think in the end it's going to turn out wonderful. It's at a price that we can afford and not stretch our budget too far. I'm certainly in favor of doing all the work inside it in one phase, not to try to do it in 2 phases, because it's, the number that's shown there, I think, will be a wider gap than what it is, because when you start working on buildings with people, and you'll have more people in the building, if you come back and try to do it in 2 phases, you got to always work around those, brings in a lot of overtime and so forth. So I think the right choice myself is to go ahead and move forward with this for numerous reasons. It's a great deal. It's a great building. And the building is not going to require a whole lot of work. It's going to require repurposing certain areas and making it in the clinic space. But, and then for those that have concerns about not utilizing or adequately looking after our citizens, the mobile clinic is a great idea. Mr. Aaron, I think you may have come up with that idea in one of our capital improvement meetings. In fact, I'm sure you did. And I thought it was a great idea. It gives the most flexibility to serve any areas that need attention. Say you would have an outbreak in certain parts of the counties, of whatever it may be, you move it down there. But it's just, it's a heck of a deal for what we'll end up with. We're going to spend about $3 million versus $20 million. And I can't imagine what the efficiency would be to have it all under one roof, and those clerical parts and other parts of business part all being under one roof and not having 2 or 3 different sets of them in various buildings. So I'm just 100% in favor of this. I hope the commissioners see fit to move forward with it. We've worked on it a very long time, and the sooner, quite frankly, we can get out of the health department building here in Nashville, I think the citizens would appreciate us doing that. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments from down here?
No.
All minds good here? All right, I'm going to ask you what's being considered for a motion. the consolidation of the Nashville and Rocky Mount Health Department into the Med Park building on the hospital campus. That's one of the two recommendations. The second recommendation is approval in the fiscal year 26 budget, CIP, a mobile unit to supplement health services in remote county locations. That's the two recommendations. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to take the option 2, and I'm not looking at it, but I think that's the one that does all the work at one time, and to provide the funding in next year's budget for the mobile unit and get this project on the road to getting it done.
Mr. Chairman, I second.
Thank you.
Okay, we got a motion from Commissioner Davis, second from Commissioner Wilkins. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying yes.
Mr. Chair, I just want to
Go ahead, Mr.
make my
Belfield.
mind clear that
Yes, sir.
this includes the mobile.
Yes, sir.
It does, sir.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure it's in there, because
It does.
I support that.
All right.
Okay, I'm okay now.
Everybody good? All right, all in favor indicate by saying yes.
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 No?
No.
So how many, let's clarify that. Raise your hands if you were a no vote. Okay, we got 5 yeses, 2 noes. Motion passes. Moving to item number 15. Yes, sir. Had a request for a short break, so we're going to break for 10 minutes. All right, we're moving now to agenda item number 15, call on Intergovernmental Relations Director Emily Moore to present the request. Morning, Emily.
Good morning. Nash County intends to apply for the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency's Urgent Repair Program. This is a program that the county has participated in several years and provides deferred, forgivable loans for emergency home repairs and modifications to low-income owner-occupied homes. The maximum funding award amount is $165,000, an increase from previous years. We plan to apply for the maximum amount of funding. Applications are due December 13th, 2024. As with previous years, a local match of $5,000 would serve to make the county's application more competitive. So our recommendation would be for you to approve the local match to be included in the Urgent Repair 2026 application.
Any discussion or comments from the board? Hearing none, I'd call for a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, second by Commissioner Belfield. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Thank you.
Moving to agenda item number 16, we call on Deputy County Manager Jonathan Boone. Jonathan, you'll be up for a few.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Each of you should have had a packet of materials at your desk this morning. Apologize for not having that to you in advance of the meeting, but we did not open bids and get the material in time enough to include that in the agenda before it went out. But in that packet, you will see the results of the bid opening on the Northern Ash Phase 2 Contract 2 project. Bids on the project bids were opened on that project back on November 21st at 2 p.m. That was actually the second advertised bid opening. The original bid opening was November 12th, or was scheduled for November 12th. But we failed to open bids at that time because we did not have a minimum of 3 bidders. But we were able to open bids on November 21st. We had 2 bidders, Busco Contractors and Ralph Hodge. And at that time, we identified the lowest responsible bidder as Busco Contractors with a base bid of $6,736,639.75. That amount, however, exceeded the funds available for the project. We did have a engineer's estimate. The lowest responsible bid was about 12% above the revised engineer's estimate. So we worked with the Wooten Company to evaluate the scope of the project as originally conceived and designed, which was about 19,000 linear feet of water mains. And in order to bring the project into budget, we removed 18,000 linear feet of water mains and about $1.3 million. The actual number is $1,285,696.05 for a revised base bid amount of $5,450,943.70. So based on a modified bid, staff is requesting and is recommending that the Board of Commissioners award the contract to Busco Contractors in the amount of $5,450,000, let me say that again, $5,450,943.70, and establish a contingency amount of $402,124.13. And we also recommend that the Commissioners authorize the county manager to execute the contract with Busco Contractors, subject to review and approval by the county attorney. Now, I do have one slide to share with you that shows the original project. And again, you have this exhibit in your packet of material. I know it's a lot of lines on the page, but really what I wanted to try to highlight in this exhibit is the water mains that were removed, and those are the items that are shown in yellow, primarily in the northern portion of the project along North Browntown Road, between Halifax Road and Burnett Road, a couple of subdivisions there, and one crossing underneath I-95 at Red Oak Brattleboro Road, adjacent to the rezoning matter that the Commissioners considered earlier today. We'll say that the project does include the water main extension on Quail Roost that would touch, again, that property that was rezoned earlier today in the meeting. But again, that was 18,000 linear feet of water mains, about 3.4 miles. So our revised project is about a little over 15 and a half miles of water mains in the project. So that said, I'll pause and see if there's any questions that you may have about the original project, the amended project, and the recommended contract award.
Any comments or discussion for staff?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just say I have looked over quite a bit what Mr. Boone is proposing. Though I certainly hate to take any of the linear footages out, we've got to stay within the budget because we generally need to use funding other than tax-based funding to do water systems with, and it just looks like he's done a great job with the Wooten Company of coming up with those areas that may need it the worst, and but hopefully we'll be able to receive additional grant funding moving forward to come back and pick these up at a later date.
Any other discussion or comments? Okay, you've heard the recommendation from staff. Do I need to repeat that recommendation? Or are you good with it? Hearing none, all in favor of the recommendation? And I'm sorry, is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Davis.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Belfield. All in favor indicate by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Boone. You're still at the podium. Number 17.
Yes, sir, thank you. Next item, have also a utility-related matter. I want to remind the board and Commissioner Howell, you may be aware, Nash County received some funds through the legislature during the fall of 2023 when the budget was reappropriated, state-directed grant funds, and the Board of Commissioners approved back in September a resolution to allocate those funds among 6 jurisdictions in the county, and then also fund 6 projects to be completed by Nash County. One of those projects is rehabilitation of the force main, portion of the force main that serves the town of Dorches. That force main was installed in the 70s and needs to be replaced. We also have some work that needs to be done to the lift station there, right in the heart of Dorches. So one of the projects to be funded is the rehabilitation, again, of that force main and lift station. So we have submitted our request to Division of Water Infrastructure which is the division of the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. For this particular project, for the funds that were allocated to fund this project by the board in the approved resolution in September, we have received the letter of intent to fund back from the Division of Water Infrastructure. And the only thing I noted as I was preparing for our meeting today, when the department, or the division rather, prepared the letter of intent to fund, they picked up on the total project amount, not the requested funding. So you will see in your supporting materials, a letter of intent to fund that was included, that the state provided, had an amount of $874,605. Actually, the funding request, it was $819,605. So I will need to follow back up with the department to get that number corrected. But all stipulations related to the grant will not change. Just the amount on the letter of intent to fund that the state has sent us needs to be reduced. So what I would ask is that the board authorize the county manager to execute the amended letter of intent to fund once we receive that, but up to amount of $874,605. But I fully anticipate the department will be willing to amend the request based on the documentation we provided to provide the $819,605. Again, I did not catch that error until I was preparing for our meeting yesterday. But again, these are all grant funds that the county has received for utility-related projects, and this first project is related to the sewer system that serves the town of Georges.
The resolution is attached. It's fairly lengthy. I assume everyone's had an opportunity to look at it, or is there any part of it you wish to highlight for discussion or comment? Okay, hearing none. Would there be any discussion or comments on staff regarding this recommendation? Hearing none, is there a motion for approval?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this.
Chairman Davis made the motion, second. Is there a second?
Second.
Was that you, Commissioner Leggett? Commissioner Leggett, second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Continuing with Mr. Boone on number 18.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we would like to ask the board's permission to remove this item from the agenda for today. We are continuing to work through what our options are as far as professional services are concerned. We have verified that that will not slow us down with our financing of this project, but we would like to take a pause and remove this item from the board's consideration for today, and we will bring this back to you at a later date.
Any objection? Hearing none, we move on to item number 19. Call on the Finance Director, Mary Hogan. And Ms. Hogan will be up here for several agenda items.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The first agenda item I have is a budget amendment for the ARPA grant. As you know, in 2021, the federal government awarded millions and billions of dollars to local governments across the country to help offset any financial deficits that might have occurred due to the pandemic. Nash County was awarded a little over $18 million. One of the stipulations was that as of December 2024, all of that money needed to be committed. Doesn't have to be spent until December of 2026, but this is the magic month we've all been working towards pretty much since 2021. All governments across the country have been working towards the December deadline. This being the final meeting that we know of for this month, we wanted to make sure that prior to the deadline coming on the 31st of December, that we had all of our Ts crossed and all of our Is dotted. So the amended, so we have gotten the ordinance exactly where it needs to be with all the monies committed. All of these haven't been approved by the committee and the board in previous meetings. The amended ordinance is presented, was that the first one I want to do? Hold on, I'm going to make sure I'm in the right order here. Oh, yeah. So in the middle of amending all of those other items, we also had some interest monies that were earned with the ARPA funding that was, but the committee has recommended that we apply those towards the Northern Nash Phase 2 project to help offset the cost that Jonathan was just talking about from the bids that he's been receiving. So the first one is going to commit a few more dollars from this grant, as well as get all the other line items shored up so that we'll be prepared to meet the December 31st deadline. The amended ordinance is presented to budget $228,181.17 interest earnings to be transferred to the ARPA Northern Nash Water Phase 2 project. In addition, the amendments include a budget transfer of $1.363262 of revenue replacement funds for the general services to the general fund, and $70,000 for estimated program income related to water sewer projects. This amendment is presented to adjust the funding categories of the ARPA grant projects to meet the obligations deadline of December 31st, 2024. These funds are budgeted for broadband projects and ARPA grant administrative cost. The broadband funds will be used to support the high-speed internet projects and transferred to the high-speed project fund. The ARPA grant administration funds will be transferred to the general fund to support the ARPA administration activities through December 2026. The program income will be transferred to the Northern Nash Water Phase 2 project, since the Treasury requires the income to be spent on a like-eligible project. Any questions about that?
You've heard the presentation from Finance Director. Are there any questions or comments?
Just
Commissioner Howell?
clarification is, so once this is moved and amended for this, can it be moved again after December 31st?
It will need to be spent it will need to be committed. It will be spent after December 31st. Many of the numbers will be spent, but it will need to be committed to these particular areas by
So those,
December.
those areas can't be changed after
Correct.
December 31st? Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, you've heard the recommendation from staff. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman, for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Arrington for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Howell. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 20, Ms. Hogan.
This is another ARPA request. Back in 2022, the board was required by the ARPA regulations to adopt a certain amount of policies that would govern the way the monies are spent. There's been a new policy that we did not adopt at that time because I don't know if we saw a need for it, but we do need to adopt it now. This policy will, basically what the requirements require that if we use the ARPA funds, which we have, to build any infrastructure, which we have, any revenue that we might generate from that infrastructure will need to be spent on the same infrastructure. We can't take revenue and spend it on something else. If it's been paid for with ARPA dollars and it's generating revenue, then the revenue needs to be spent on the same, in the same area, in the same fund, basically. So below is a summary of one additional required ARPA policy in order for Nash County to be in compliance with uniform guidance and the ARPA award terms and conditions. The initial policies were presented and approved at the June 6, 2022 Board of Commissioners meetings. The additional required policy is attached in full detail. Summary of the required policy pertaining to the program income of ARPA CSL FRF. Program income policy establishes procedures to account for the use of program income earned from an expenditure of the ARPA grant funds as it relates to our ARPA water sewer projects. Following approval, employees responsible for the implementation projects that generate income will follow the requirements in this policy related to the treatment of program income. And I think, Jonathan, the estimate was we expected from the water sewer programs, some of those facilities that we've spent ARPA money on, we expect it to earn about $70,000, is that correct? Over the next few years, so that $70,000 would have to be spent also on the water sewer projects.
That's as of the 2026. I believe there's a projection requirement.
Any revenue earned after 2026 will not be subjected to the same policy.
Any questions, comments from staff regarding the adoption of this policy?
So moved, we approve this.
Are there any questions or comments regarding adoption of this policy? Chairman Davis?
One question. Do you have a question, Mr.
No. I thought he was calling for the motion.
Okay. Did I understand that after 2026, this requirement is no longer there?
Any revenue that is generated after 2026 does not have to be specific to the same project that was built using ARPA funds. We'll still have to report the expenses accordingly, but we don't have to, we're not required to spend the revenue in the same way. Is that any clearer?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not like I thought it would be, but it's clear. Of course, it's not going to be a problem because we spend all utility funds on utilities anyway, correct, Mr. Boone?
Right, I think the policy was probably meant for other projects that could be funded with ARPA funds, but as you indicated, funds that generated within the utility are going to be used on utility-related projects. So it's not an issue for us, it's really just a formality.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Commissioner Howell?
How many projects do we have that this affects? I know you said they're all with the utility.
This is the only project
one?
funded,
Okay.
yes, sir, with county ARPA funds.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Arrington makes the motion. Second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilkins. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Moving to number 21, Ms. Hogan and Ms. Schatzer, County Manager.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So this is a critical position request, and I wanted to provide a little bit of background, that I wanted to recognize that this is not typical for us to have a mid-year position request. It's generally not an action that I would bring to the board. However, considering the critical nature of the job duties that we need to address, I would be negligent if I did not make you aware of our current situation and a solution that we should consider. The Finance Department is requesting an additional position to be trained as a backup position for our payroll function and to implement other departmental efficiencies to current processes. Nash County has shown positive growth in the past 20 years that our current payroll employee has been performing this function, and the workload for finance staff has grown at the same rate. When our current employee was hired, we had 500 employees, and we now have close to 800. The payroll function is mission critical. It's a mission critical position for the county, and we are at risk of being without a trained, qualified person to perform the duties should our current employee become ill or opt to retire. This employee is eligible for retirement at July 1, 2025. Waiting until the next budget year could leave us in a vulnerable position should they opt to retire when they become eligible. The proposal is for the position, a finance specialist / project coordinator, to spend approximately 20 hours per week training to do payroll, processing the payroll independently at predetermined intervals, and creating a step-by-step payroll training and operating manual tailored to Nash County payroll processes. Concurrently, this position will evaluate the current payroll process and conduct research needed to recommend improvement initiatives that will expand efficiencies. We currently use several manual processes that are prime candidates for technological advances intended to save time and money for the county. The finance specialist project coordinator will be tasked with leading the processes and activities to achieve these efficiencies. Lastly, the finance specialist project coordinator will spend approximately 20 hours per week on other projects in finance that need time and attention to make those processes more efficient, thus improving the timeliness and accuracy of the results of this department's activities. Sample areas include inventory and fixed asset reporting, audit preparation, budget preparation, online budget book, updating and maintenance, increasing the use of electronic and wireless and wire payments. This proposal is to utilize funds in the general fund to fund a position in the second half of the current fiscal year. Approving this request now would obligate the county to this new permanent position in the finance office moving forward. We introduced Eric Mendez to the board a couple of months ago as a project coordinator with the Strategic Member Services through NCACC. Eric is an ideal candidate for this role and is enthusiastic about the potential of joining Team Nash in this capacity. His work on several projects to date have revealed a skill set that would enhance the finance office's work, efficiencies, and stabilize the current vulnerable state of our payroll function. If approved, Mr. Mendez would officially transition into the permanent position within the finance office January 1, 2025, and a budget amendment in the January Board of Commissioners meeting would provide the funds for this position through June 30th, 2025. We ask you to consider this proposal and consider it for approval.
Okay, any discussion or comments from the board for staff? Any down here?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, man.
Commissioner Leggett?
Thank you. What my question was is, in what instances do we fill positions with a particular person, and in what instances do we typically advertise a position?
So generally, our practice is to create a new position and offer it to the general public. And if that is something that the board would like for us to do, advertise out, we can certainly do that with this position. The reason why we're bringing this proposal to you the way that we are is the unique situation that we're in, that we've already engaged in this partnership with NCACC to have a project coordinator through the Strategic Member Services on board here in Nash County. We've had him here for a couple of months and have been able to assess his skill set on several projects. Some of the ones that we've already mentioned, the electronic budget book, he's been very instrumental in working on that project, working with the electronic timesheet. We have a very manual timesheet process. He's been working with Mary already on the electronic timesheet platform, and a couple of other projects that we've been working on. So the position, while needed for payroll backup, and to get us in a place to where we have a manual in place for that next payroll employee that we bring on board. Eric is very versed in some of these special projects that we already have going on, and he's just a good fit for us. Generally, if we don't have all the stars aligned like that, we would be posting a position out to the public and seeking the talent that we don't know is out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
A couple of questions. The number of employees that sticks in my mind from budget time is 650, and now we're talking about 800. Is it a matter of 650 full-time?
Full-time, yes, sir.
And 150 part-time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The relationship we had with the association and with the gentleman being here, what was the expiration date of that?
There is actually no expiration date. I believe the candidates are, they've had the opportunity to move from one location to another and continue to pick up new skills at each location that they go to. They are viable workforce candidates for any local government. So while he's here working with us, I'm sure he's keeping his eye on the local postings to see what jobs are available out there that he could apply for. But there is actually no expiration date. Certainly they want to see that the candidate is still being provided with work opportunities that is expanding their skill set. And if we get to the point to where we can no longer do that, then they'll look for another location for him. But there is not, we don't have a drop dead date where we know he will be leaving us.
My next question is, when we got the ARPA funding, I know we took an existing employee, Katrina, and moved her out of her spot into primarily that job. Did we backfill the position she had before with someone employed to replace her in her old position? I think the answer is yes, but I need to verify that.
It was absorbed by several other, we did not hire an additional person. It was absorbed by several other folks. We had another position that was approved, but it wasn't to do her specific duties. She is also she's also working, let's talk about her like she's also working very closely on the transition and to do some training for some other employees who are talking about retiring. She's kind of our other one to do some of the accounting, more of the accounting side of the house, and work on some of those projects to make sure we've got some I've lost the word, anyway, training for the next round of retirees in our department.
I'm not sure what answer I got there, but my memory is that we actually, when she moved into that position, we hired another employee. And I think you said we hired another employee, but it may not have necessarily been for
I
what.
think job duties changed, yes.
Okay.
And just for me, just without being able to go back and look at the detail in our records, just thinking about office spaces, the fact that she's occupying an office space where she is an additional to what we did have in the finance office. So I believe you're right. I think it's a combination of the two. We had a new position, but the duties
Yeah, the office
had
she's
been
in was
adjusted.
not in finance before, as you said.
Correct.
And all that leads up, I've really got two concerns with this. Number one is adding employees during the middle of a budget year, which we almost never do. We may have at some point, but we try our best not to do that, and here we're asking to be approved that. And then, of course, Sue brought up a very valid question about advertising the position, and of course, my personal concern is existing employees and making sure that they all have the benefit of any new job we're creating. And of course, there's nothing wrong with going outside also, but many times we open it up, as we did with the manager's job, to only in-house employees. And I'm really not fond of skipping that step, but that's my concern. And
Well, I will just say, I know with, Mary's been on the job at 90 days, just past 90 days, and she has spent that time really digging in and spending time with the current staff that we have and assessing their skill set along with their wishes and desires for the type of work that they want to do. And we do not have a payroll backup within our existing staff. So we would need to advertise out if that's what we were going to do with this position, other than move forward with the proposal here.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Belfield?
We're talking about a position and not particularly an individual, that it would be coming up in the next budget, it would be advertised. Is that correct?
No.
No, not with this proposal.
Okay.
This proposal would be for us to use Mr. Mendez in this role, and he would continue in that role in the new year.
Anyone down here? Commissioner Howell?
Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
You go ahead. I've
I'll
had
come
my
back
turn.
to you.
So I apologize, but I guess the question is it not customary for us to post all open positions, whether it be internal or external, for any position in the county, since we're a branch of government, to be fair and consistent?
It is customary. And again, I mean, we have a set of circumstances here that is unlike other normal situations. I mean, we will be glad to post this position if that would be the wishes of the board.
Just for me personally, I think that's to be, not that this particular thing, he has job set skills that probably prefer specifically to this, but I think you set a precedence if you start doing it for one, then why didn't you do it for the other, or you open that door? So I think to be fair and consistent to all employees in the county and the citizens, that we post the job, and if he's the most qualified candidate, then he will still get the job.
You good, Commissioner Howell? Commissioner Davis, you had a follow-up question?
I think I'm going to not ask my question. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Are there any other questions or discussion? Commissioner Harrington?
Well, I would fall on the side of Ms. Hogan's recommendation. And one of the reasons is, she came in as our new finance director, and she's trying to straighten the house out for us. And she needs, immediate help. And she has evaluated the staff that she has, and she has identified, she believes, the help that could help her get there, I guess, the fastest. And I understand the concerns of the other commissioners, but I want to also give her the opportunity to lead and do this so that she can keep her house in order, the finance department.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Mr. Chairman, I have to agree with Commissioner Arrington on this. The Finance Department, she has already spoken to those that are there, and with, and I believe the county manager sees an opportunity, as does Ms. Hogan. He's already trained, and there is a chance he could possibly leave that position in the new year if offered something else. And I just think we need to, when we look at bringing a new person on and doing training again, we're looking at probably, I'm going to guess, 6 months before they're adequately trained when Mr. Mendez is ready and willing and able to take that position. So I have to support the request for that position based on that. And I understand about the other employees who may want to apply for this position, but if memory serves me correctly, we've done this before without advertising, and I can't put my finger on it. But since I've been here, 1 or 2 positions had been filled without going out of out in the public and advertising it. So I stand with the request they're asking.
Other questions or discussion? Okay, it seems to me that this is kind of split, so I'll make sure I understand and everybody understands. If this recommendation is approved, Mr. Mendez would officially transition into that permanent position January 1st.
Yes, sir.
If it is not approved, I assume the intent would be to post that position.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any further question or discussion?
Chairman, hold on.
Chairman, Commissioner Howell?
I'm okay with approving the position. I just think we need to be consistent across the county in posting the job. And again, if he is the most qualified candidate, he's still going to get the job. But I have no problem giving the county its needs to do its services. And I guess, since I'm new, I have to keep using this till I learn this, so I apologize. But is there a process when somebody does retire, and we know they're going to retire in this case, how far out in advance do we look at replacing that position so we do get on the job training before that position is void and create a problem for the county?
Yeah, we certainly are doing succession planning for many of our critical positions, department head level on down. We actually do not have a finite answer about whether or not there's going to be a retirement. So this is part of our succession planning to make sure that we are ready to be able to cover the responsibilities that are covered by this position.
And then if this fails, we will continue to use this service unless that individual finds another job that they're currently working for us now. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you restate that?
The individual is working for us now, right, through service. So as long as they're there, we can utilize that service.
Right, so we are utilizing him for the special projects side of the house.
Okay.
This piece, as far as needing to have backup for our essential payroll function, we would still need to have a position, to have something to advertise and bring somebody in that we could start training in this position.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other question, discussion?
I'm sorry, I need to ask one more question. And is what I'm hearing is if the lady that does payroll comes down with an illness and is out for a month or 2 months, we can't make payroll?
We have made attempts at doing some cross-training and have backup for our payroll function. We have already encountered a situation where we had our payroll person out. There was quite a bit of work that had to be done on the back end when she returned to work with us. So yes, we can make it happen. Our employees will get paid. Yes, our employees will get paid, no matter if, most of us will get paid, whether she is here or not. We need to do better than we're doing right now.
Okay. I just can't imagine what it would be like with my little old crowd when we miss an hour of payroll.
Well, exactly.
Not making payroll for 850 employees.
Right.
All right, any other questions or discussion? So once again, just for clarification, if this recommendation passes, Mr. Mendez starts January 1st in a permanent position. If this motion does not pass, then I assume you're going to post that position immediately, and he will stay on board until such time as he's offered something
I think we'll
else.
go with whatever the motion is.
I'm trying to clarify the motion, what might occur if it fails. So if we don't approve the motion, then you would be charged with posting that position.
Well,
I think, Mr. Chairman, the motion should be to determine to
I
approve the
understand
position.
that. I'm just trying for the board's clarification where it goes from here.
Okay. But the position, I think the position has to be approved first.
Well, we have to consider the approval of the condition. Okay.
And then, and so if the motion, if someone would want to make a motion to not require the second portion of the motion to get offered the job to Mr. Mendez, they should make that motion appropriately.
All right, well, the board, you've heard the motion, the recommendation. So at this time, I'd call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we consider approval of the position request.
All right, is there a second on that motion to approve the request?
I second.
Mr. Belfield seconds the motion. Further discussion?
I'd like a little explanation on the motion, if it means approve the position as well as approve the person indicated, or is it approve the position?
Yes, as written,
The motion as written, the request as written?
yes.
Thank you.
The motion carries, then Mr. Mendez would assume that position.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no.
No.
All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. That's three. All opposed, raise your right hand. Motion does not carry.
Chairman,
Yes,
I'd like to make another motion with that if I can.
please do.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the position and post the position.
All right, you've heard the motion to approve the position and post the position. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any discussion or comment? Any discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no.
No.
All right, well, let's do that again. All in favor indicate by raising your right hand. That's 5. Opposed would be Commissioner Wilkins, and Commissioner Harrington, would you be opposed to that? 2 opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving to item number 22, budget amendments. Ms. Hogan, you're still up.
We're going to go on to the budget amendments. The first one is from the Health Department. Budget amendment is to budget additional state funding for the Women's, Infants, and Children's Program to provide nutritional education, promote increased program participation, and encourage participant retention in the program. No county funds are required. Number 2, this budget amendment is to budget additional state funding to assist the Health Department prepare and begin to use the web-based National Fatality Review Case Reporting System as a required part of its child fatality prevention system. No county funds are required. Asset forfeiture. This budget amendment makes funds available from asset forfeiture fund balance and insurance proceeds to purchase evidence, equipment, and provide additional training. Next would be cooperative extension. This budget amendment is to budget additional funds collected in horticultural events to cover the remaining cost of the Farm City Breakfast event. Cooperative extension. This budget amendment is to budget additional funds collected in cooperative extension events to cover the remaining cost for the NEDEA 4 Hydro Fall Meeting. And last, the disaster recovery. This budget amendment is to activate the accounting mechanism and initiate funding needs to properly designate the county's expenses associated with the requested mutual aid from western counties due to extreme destruction from Hurricane Helene. These costs need to be tracked for reimbursement purposes. We request the board initially allocate $500,000 for personnel and supplies costs related to the mutual aid requests.
Any discussion or comment on the budget amendments? Commissioner Davis?
Going back to item number 3, I think I sent an email and asked for some more explanation on that, and I did get it from the sheriff, but will you, do you have any more explanation you can give us on this?
I do not. I do know that they are waiting on some insurance proceeds from some wrecked vehicles, and they'd like to be able to use those proceeds
Right.
to buy, to replace the vehicles with. That's the gist of what this is about.
Well, I don't think,
What?
I hate to do this, but I don't think that's what it's about. I
Okay.
think we are using insurance proceeds
Mhm.
from wrecked vehicles, but I don't think we're replacing vehicles with that money. We're using it for a piece of equipment and for
Correct.
training is what I think we are doing, plus some,
Plus the vehicles, upfits.
no, I don't, I didn't understand it that way. That's why I really want a little bit more explanation. But it's asset forfeiture funds involved in it also? Yes. You don't know anything else, do you?
Nope.
Okay.
Do you want me to get back to you? Do you want to pull this one?
No, 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 I don't want to pull this one. I'm okay with it, but if you would, let us know exactly
I will do
what
that.
I'm interested in the funding from the insurance company on wrecked vehicles, what we use that money for.
Okay.
Because I don't think we're using it for vehicles, but I'm not sure. And we may well be.
Okay.
Well, the way it was written, it looks like you can, but
Yeah, those are the exact amounts. That's why.
just let me know.
Okay, I will.
Sure, I'm good.
Other comments or discussion? Hearing none, would it be the board, Commissioner Leggett?
Make a motion to approve the budget amendments.
Would we approve them all at once, or is there any board member wishes to pull out? Approve them all at once. Okay, we got a motion to approve all 6 amendments.
Second.
Is there a second? Commissioner Howell? Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by the sign of yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 23, board appointments. Thank you, Ms. Hogan. Call on Assistant County Manager Tia Fula. I really like Fula.
You say how you want. Good afternoon.
I like you.
Good afternoon. We are going to go over board appointments. So first, we have the Braswell Memorial Library Board of Trustees. Nash County has 2 vacant seats on the Braswell Memorial Library Board of Trustees and an appointment that expires on December 2024. Therefore, Nash County has 3 appointments to make to the Board of Trustees. Please consider the appointments of Kimberly Roscoe, Christopher Tony High Sr., and Dr. LaShonda Washington to the Braswell Memorial Library Board of Trustees. The applications are included in your board packet for your review. These 3 are eligible, willing, and recommended for appointment. If approved, their 4-year term will run until December 31st, 2028.
Any board discussion on these appointments for the Braswell Library? Any discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Chairman Davis, Commissioner Davis, second.
Second.
Commissioner Wilkins, got a motion and a second for approval of these to the Braswell Memorial Library. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. That carries.
Thank you so much.
Consolidated Health and Human Services Board.
Yes, sir. The Consolidated Health and Human Services Board is actively working to fill several vacancies. At their upcoming bi-monthly meeting on December the 12th, their board will review applications and propose nominations for approval by the Board of County Commissioners. Additionally, they welcome recommendations from this body for their consideration. And just as a reminder, there are several vacancies on that board under the professional category of psychologist, pharmacist, engineer, dentist, optometrist, veterinarian, social worker, and registered nurse. And so they have, I think, approximately 3 potential board members that they're going to bring for the next meeting. But if any of the commissioners have a recommendation, please share that with.
You said one of those is a dentist?
Yes, sir.
Does anybody have any thought to it? I've got somebody I might be able to talk to, unless somebody else has got one they're looking at.
I have a question when it's appropriate.
Go ahead, Chairman.
Are you saying each one of those professional seats that you just called out is
Need to
up
be
for appointment and cannot be reappointed?
There are actually,
Do we got our work cut out for us?
oh, we absolutely have our work cut out for us. There are approximately 10 that their terms are over and cannot be reappointed. And Mr. Hill, in conversation with the School of Government, said that the ones that are currently in position, they can carry over until their seat is filled, but they cannot be reelected. No, sir. Their terms have expired.
Well, apparently what caused this to all happen at one time is when we consolidated, we all started them with new terms, and that 9 years must be behind us, and we got to start over.
Correct.
Is that where we're at?
Yes.
Yes. So that Consolidated Human Services Board is looking to, actively looking to recruit new members. The legacy members are looking to replace themselves, but it's not happening as quickly as they had intended. So there's a lot of vacancy on this board. Legacy members are remaining on the board, so the board isn't vacant, but their terms have expired.
The email you sent us recently about future board appointments, which I did read, but it's been several weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
Did that include all of these?
It did not include all of, well, I believe it did. I think I listed I believe I did list what the vacancy categories were. I can resend it.
Well, if you sent it, I got it. If you just verify included, I didn't understand we had that severe of a problem.
We do. So so for this Health and Human Services Board, you can have up to 25 members, and 8 of those need to be professionals in those categories that I just listed.
Yep. And I think we have worked and tried not to have 25 members, which is a lot of members.
Correct.
You can have up to that, so I think we've been trying to keep it somewhere around the 16 to 18 range possibly.
There's also, as you're thinking of connections that you may have, for persons who are consumers of human services.
Right.
Also others, just general members of the public. And so if you know someone who would be interested in serving on that board, there's likely a vacancy that they can fill.
For that board, can you just summarize those openings and the position that would be required to fill it, if it's a public member, a dentist, or whatever, and just send that back out to everybody
I
so
sure
we've got
will.
it, and we'd ask everybody to take a look at it and see what they can come up with as quickly as you can come up with it. Maybe by our next meeting, we'll have some recommendations.
I sure will, thank you. And the Health and Human Services Board will likely have 3 to be presented for at the January's meeting for your consideration, but
And maybe
still.
when you send that out, just attach an application with it as
I sure
well.
will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the Nash County, Nash Healthcare Systems Board of Commissioners. And so this is a recommendation. The Nash Healthcare System Board met on November 7th and unanimously voted to approve the nominating committee's 2025 recommendations. They have voted to reappoint Dr. David Browder, Mike Johnson, and Kevin Jones for a second 3-year term beginning in January 2025. They are recommending to appoint Mr. Stephen Barnes, which is in Commissioner District 7, and John Allen Corbett III, which is in Commissioner District 3. Their bios, I don't know if they were attached, so I think you should have those.
There was a copy placed
Yes, sir.
at the table.
The board feels that their acumen and expertise in finance and banking will be a great asset to the board over the coming years and meet some unfilled expertise. Additionally, it is a nominating recommendation that Mr. Corbett would complete Mr. Joe Bryant's unexpired term, which there's 1 year remaining, before he begins his eligibility for his 3-year term, since both he and Mr. Bryant represent the same geographic district. And so this is their recommendation, and they're looking for an approval.
Would it be the pleasure of the board to consider all of these with one motion? Or do you want to break them out? One motion? Okay. Any discussion or comments regarding these recommendations for the Nash Healthcare System Board of Commissioners? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we reappoint Dr. David Browder, Mike Johnson, and Kevin Jones for a second 3-year term beginning in January 2025, and also that we appoint Mr. Stephen Barnes from District 7 and John Allen Corbett from District 3.
And the last part of that?
Oh, I'm sorry, and that Mr. Corbett will complete Mr. Joel Bryant's unexpired term, which is 1 year remaining, before he begins the eligibility for the 3-year terms.
Okay, we got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Leggett. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, it's the Voluntary Agriculture District. The terms of 3 current members of the Voluntary Agriculture District Board are set to expire December 31st, 2024. I do want to say, as of this morning, I have gotten notification from Regina Mosley that they have 3 applicants that they will be prepared to have for the January meeting. And so we may be able to skip. If any commissioners have someone that they know that may be a good fit for the Voluntary Agriculture District, you can get the application to me or to Janice. But since I've submitted this, Regina Mosley sent me an email this morning that they have 3 potential applicants.
So we don't need to do anything here?
No, sir.
Okay.
Finally, and I think you are all aware, there is a 2025 committee and work group assignments, and every commissioner is represented. And I believe we just need a motion to approve these assignments. Should I go through the individual committee assignments?
I believe everyone, Commissioner.
If I may, Ms. Fuller, I'm not sure we need to vote on that list.
Okay.
If the board wants to, we can. We have not in the past. I just took it upon myself, having a new member come on to meet with each individual commissioner as chairman and see if they wanted to take off anything, add anything, and just see what everybody wanted. And this is the list that I formulated by speaking with everyone, and I think all the commissioners have blessed the list to the best of my knowledge. So does the board think we need to vote on this? I'm not sure we really do. In fact, there are some disadvantages by actually taking a vote on it, I think. So if we could just agree
pleasure
to
of the
this
board?
is what we'll do for the next year, that would be great.
Is the board okay with just accepting these as presented? That's the way we've done it in the
I
past.
don't recall us ever voting on committee assignments of commissioners. We just verbally agreed. We never took a vote.
That's the point we'll make it, Mr. Bell.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying, following up on what you said.
Right, thank you, sir.
Well, I just like to make one comment. If everybody's good with that, we'll accept this as it's presented here. But one thing that I'd like to recommend is that we consider a public safety committee. And that would be a committee of 3 commissioners. It would be a representation from the sheriff's office. It would be representation from EMS, 911, and fire, and of course, the staff. That's something I think we need to do. Let that group meet, consider the needs of those 2 areas, and like other committees, bring those recommendations back to the board for consideration. Would everyone, I've thought about who should be on that list, and I will share that with you, and I'm open to suggestions otherwise. Does anyone have any objection to that?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any objection. I think it would be best if the manager recommended that committee and working with you on what commissioners you want on there.
Yeah, I'm not talking about recommending who would be on it other than the commissioners.
That's correct, yes. But I think if it would come from the manager, it would serve us better.
I agree.
Yes, sir.
I would think it would be the 3 heads of the 3 emergency areas and whoever the representation is from the sheriff's office and whatever staff you wanted on that. Of course, 3 commissioners is typically what we put on committees.
Yes, sir.
I just hope it'll nip in the bud some of these concerns we have with public safety before they get out there and they become a major issue. Everyone good with that?
I think I agree with you 100%. You
Thank
just work with the manager on your commissioners. you
I would
want on there.
definitely do that. Did you have a comment, Mr. Belfield?
Oh, I was just gonna say that I would like to be put back on the Juvenile Crime Prevention Committee.
I don't have an issue with that. You had indicated when I met with you.
Yeah, we talked about
Okay,
it, but
did you-
at that time.
You've changed your mind.
Yeah, I've changed my mind.
Okay. I don't,
I'll update the list.
I don't have any issue with that.
Neither do I.
Of course, now Commissioner Arrington, I guess, would be the reporting member from that committee.
Right. Well, it's been 2 commissioners
Well, I
on
understand.
that.
I
Committee.
understand. On a lot of our committees, we have more than 1 commissioner, but typically, when we have our mid-month reviews, then there is a commissioner that is responsible for reporting.
Yeah, Commissioner Arrington would be responsible for the report.
Okay. Other comments?
I think Ms. Wilkins had a comment.
Ms. Wilkins? Commissioner Wilkins?
No, you answered. I was going to ask, it has Commissioner Marvin Arrington on the Juvenile Crime Convention Council, so you answered that. I just,
So for purposes of, again, clarification for the board, put this list out and by commissioner, indicate who is the reporting individual when you've got multiple committees or committees with multiple commissioners.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll know who the reporting individual is,
we'll do that.
okay? And I'll get with you and we'll talk about public safety. Sue, I appreciate you being involved in that discussion initially. All right, any other discussion on appointments?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Fuller. Appreciate it very much. All right, we're moving on to the agenda item 24, the calendar. I think everyone's probably seen the calendar. Call on the county manager.
That's correct. The calendar for the 2025 meeting dates for the Nash County Board of Commissioners was presented, and it's in your packet. I've not heard any objections to what's been presented. Just as a reminder, we did move the second meeting in February to be a second meeting in January. However, with the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, Monday, January 20th is not an option, so that meeting is set for Tuesday, January the 21st.
Is that what's on here?
Yeah.
Yes.
In your agenda, the current schedule, is there any comments, concerns about the calendar?
Just a
Commissioner Wood.
note, and I already reviewed this with the county manager. I just want everybody to realize December's meeting is not the first Monday. It is going to be the second Monday because of the holiday, right?
Correct. And I will just say for the record, for you all to have this knowledge, next year is fine for us to do that, actually, because it's an odd year. But in general statute, every even year, when there's an election that's been held, we, by general statute, have to have our December meeting on the first Monday in December. So we'll get a little break away from the Thanksgiving holiday in our odd number years, but our even number years, we will stick with that first Monday in December.
So December the 8th is the date.
It is.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to accept the calendar as presented in the agenda?
Motion to accept.
Commissioner Wilkins made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Leggett makes the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, we're moving now to commissioner comments. Any commissioner have any comments today? Commissioner Leggett?
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
I'll just start with you and we'll just see if there's any this way.
Okay, thank you very much. First, I'd just like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to the citizens of District 4 for their vote of confidence in me by re-electing me to District 4 representative to this board. I am humbled by their support and take this responsibility seriously to represent their values and interests to our local government. I will continue to work to be fair in my outlook and to be fiscally responsible. I would also like to take this chance to say thank you to my board in their vote of confidence as well, and I say thank you. I will work to be steady and dependable and assist our new board chair in leading this group of commissioners. I do enjoy serving on our board with each of you and have the utmost respect for everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Leggett. Commissioner Wilkins, do you have any comments? Commissioner Howard?
Yes, sir, please. Just want to take a moment here, and I thought about this a little bit, and so I just want to take time just to read this if I can. I normally don't like to read, but just want to make sure I do this properly. And I'm beyond humbled and blessed to serve alongside these dedicated commissioners to move our county forward. I would like to extend a special thank you to all those that joined us today, especially those that supported me from District 3. And a special thank you to North Carolina Supreme Court Chief Justice Paul Newby for administering the oath of office. As you know, I've always worked hard to support my family, my friends, church, and community, and I'm honored and humbled now to represent you as a commissioner for the constituents in District 3 and all citizens in Nash County. When faced with decisions, I'll be open-minded, transparent, I'll consider all stakeholders, and make decisions with integrity and thoughtfulness. I will strive to be a physically conservative steward of our resources and a strong advocate for our county employees. As Nash County continues to experience change and growth, it's important for our county to foster a workplace, a culture that embraces transparency and respect. When employees have confidence in their colleagues and leaders, it promotes growth, it empowers our employees, and increases retention. I look forward to working alongside my fellow commissioners and our excellent county staff to move Nash County forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. Commissioner Arrington, you have any comments? Commissioner Davis?
I'll just continue, if I may, Mr. Chairman, doing a little housing report.
Please do.
Each month. And we did have quite a slowdown in November, which it is the end of the year, and builders try to wrap up things, but we had a great month with commercial permits, a total of about $22 million worth. A large portion of that was, of course, up at the Universal Leaf site where we have the industry that we landed a couple of years ago doing a major expansion. That permit was pulled, which equaled about $18 million for the dog treat operation we have up there. We had a total of 25 residential permits pulled. In that group was 19 stick-built homes and 6 manufactured homes. They were pulled by a total of 17 different builders, so very few multiple permits were pulled, and quite a few of our Nash County builders pulling those permits. So the national home builders have slowed down quite a bit here at the end of the year. But it's still a good month and much higher than what we were seeing some time ago. And glad to see the large investments in the commercial side of it as well, a total of $22 million. I do want to take this occasion to thank my fellow board members and staff for supporting me during the time I served as chair. I did ask to take a break from that. It is a difficult job sometimes, and I appreciate the new people that were elected. I enjoyed doing that, did it for quite a long time, a total of 11 out of 22 years if my math is right. And I do cherish how the board worked together, as I stated to one of the reporters that called me. I think one of the things I'm most proud of is the fact that we had very few votes along party lines. We may have had a few. I honestly can't sit here and remember one, but I think it shows that this board works together very well. I hope we will continue to do that, Mr. Outlaw, under your leadership, and I feel certain we will. It shows well for the county to have a board that all seem to be working together and try to do the right thing. I do want to clarify one thing. One reporter that published an article in one of our local papers, it read almost like I was stepping down totally. That is certainly not the case whatsoever. It did indicate that it was my intent to complete my term, which is 2 more years. And I certainly, if health doesn't fail me, will be completed that term and could very well seek other terms beyond that. It is my goal to serve in this capacity to the age that the gentleman I think a lot of and cherish to my right here, Mr. Bettlefield, which means I actually got a little over 20 more years to serve in this capacity to equal what he has done. And so don't think I'm going to go anywhere or by asking to get reprieve. I still work full time, and quite frankly, I've got a couple of projects for my family in another part of the state that I really need to get on and complete the next couple of years, and I just need more time to devote to that. I do want to say I appreciate the calls that I got from some of the citizens asking me why I chose to do that, and it's very simple. I may have got elected again, may not have, but I just felt like it was fair to let the other board members know that I wish to share that love some and let somebody else take that for a while. And I had many calls about that, and one of them from a city council person last night that I do cherish for getting that call. Odd, and I won't name any names, but anyway, And I do want to thank another reporter who sent me a poem in the last few weeks. I won't say the reporter because I'm not going to call names, but it was sent to me with the idea that they thought I did a very good job of doing what this poem says. And it's a long poem, and I only want to read the first verse, and it is by Rudyard Kipling. And what it says, Mr. Outlaw, for your benefit, I'll give you a copy of this. If you keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, just don't deal in lies. Or been hated, don't give away to hating. But yet, don't look too good nor talk too wise. I appreciate the person that sent me that and given that as an indication that they thought I had done well with what that poem says, and I'll pass it on to you, sir. And thank you.
Mr. Belfield, you have any comments?
Oh, I just want to say that I welcome a new member, Freddie Howell, to the board, and I'm sure we all work together like Commissioner Davis has mentioned, and I think I have the longest tenure on this board. I mean, 26 years this month. You make 26 years. And I've had people to say to me, both white and black, that you need to stay on the board. I don't know. It depends on health. But I just think it's when you're ahead, sometimes it's time to go. But I'm not making any announcement now. I do know that there are two other people out there that are interested in this seat, and they have already started working, hoping that I would not seek re-election. But I would like to go out ahead rather than rather than the people put me out. So I'm not making an announcement that I would not seek re-election. I don't know what the future may hold. And also, even if I don't seek re-election, I would still be in support of this Nash County Board of Commissioners in any way I can help. And I'll say to all, have a happy Christmas. If I don't get to see you personally anymore before then. And don't forget that there's a man that's in charge of us all, and that's our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And as we celebrate the holiday, don't forget him.
Thank you, Mr. Belfield. Well said. Okay, if no other comments, I'd call on the manager for her report.
Thank you. Just have a couple of, talk about some dates that will be closed. Offices will be closed on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, December 24th, 25th, and 26th, in observance of the Christmas holiday. Offices will also be closed on Wednesday, January the 1st, in recognition of the New Year holiday. And just a note for the board and the public that keeps an eye out for the agenda, the January agenda, we plan to send that out on Tuesday, December the 31st to our board. And then we'll be off on on January the 1st. And then we'll get it out to the Sunshine List and have it published to our website on Thursday, January the 2nd. So just keep an eye on that. And then at our second meeting in January, we just talked about that with the adoption of the calendar. That is the Tuesday, January the 21st. We are planning to have our board picture taken that day, and we have that scheduled at 1 PM. So if the board could plan on being here at 1 on Tuesday, January the 21st, to have our board picture taken just prior to the meeting that afternoon at 1:30. And that's all I have.
Would you just slip out an email on that, just as a
I will.
reminder to everybody?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, in a few minutes, we're going into closed session for matters of economic development, attorney-client privilege, and a personnel matter. Do you know of any action that may come out of that?
There's a possibility we may have to take some action.
So we may have something coming out of closed session to vote on. Okay. All right. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Commissioner Wilkins, is there a second? Nobody?
Second.
Commissioner Leggett made the second first. Got a motion and a second. Assume no discussion, so all in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. We're now in closed session. All right, we're back in regular session now. Coming out of closed session, we've got one item that we need to act on, and I'm going to defer to Commissioner Leggett to make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion for Nash County to enter into a contract for $1,250,000 for the purchase of the property at 981 Old White Oak Road in Nashville, and $160,000 for the renovation and upfit of the property. Both expenditures would be for the space for existing county services and departments.
Any discussion or comment on that motion? Hearing none. Are you making the motion?
I made the motion.
And who seconded it?
I second.
Gwen seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, we adjourn.